Well, I think we're live. Facebook, internet.
Did it go?
How charming you are. Let me get this going. Start that. Oh, we're live. Sorry about the technical difficulties and a slight delay in beginning Dave's Gone By, but there goes the Daverhood. Welcome, everybody, one and all, to what is actually kind of an anniversary show of sorts. No, it's not an anniversary. What do you call it? It's a milestone show, if you will. Live on this Saturday, June 13th, 2020. This is, Hun, do you know what show this is?
767?
Not quite.
800?
No.
750?
That's it. This is the 750th episode of Dave's Gone By. Every single one of them has starred me. I've never had a guest. Oh, well, no. One or two times Rabbi Saul Solomon has stepped in and done the whole show. And there have been times when we've been potato bombed and potato wanted to kind of take over the reins. But no, on this June 13th of 2020, it's going to be me, as it was back in October of 2002 when I sat down in a chair, well, yeah, of course it was a chair, at the radio studios of WGBB.
You were such a renegade then.
Not in Babylon, Long Island. It was in LIMERICK for a couple of weeks. LIMERICK, New York, on the South Shore. Sound like Sinatra. The South Shore of Nassau
cool.
County, and did this first episode. It was, did we start at 10 or 11 o'clock? Now I think
we started late.
So yeah, it would have been like 11 o'clock in the evening.
It was late.
After a show that had this guy who drove a taxi cab during the day, I think, and then had this kind of, I don't know, it was a mellow show with folk and bluegrass musicians playing. Eddie Hugg and the Moonshiners were playing. Yeah, they were fun. What was his name?
Eddie.
No, the guy who did the actual show.
Oh, it's not Trevor. It was the other guy, Brian?
It's funny, like when I'm called upon now to try and remember.
What happened to my...
Uh-oh, you lost me there?
I came back, yeah.
I'm supposedly live, and I think you all should know this, that my video is 704.5 kbps.
Oh, good.
Yeah, not everybody's going to tell you. You can tune in to major shows.
See the show I'm sending people, you have your arm out like this. Can you see?
Oh, cool.
You're
cool.
Like...
you can tune into NCIS Los Angeles, or you can tune in to MSNBC and watch the news there. You can tune in to see a lot of the reality shows, the Bachelor thing. They're not going to tell you what the KBPS video is that you're watching. I will. I'll even tell you that it's 1280 by 720, 70 FPS.
No.
It really, I was shocked by that too. Completely blown away by that.
You must have the good, maybe our slow connection is helping you.
You have to understand, for some reason...
Potato explain it. He knows IT.
Oh, wow. Potato, do you think... Well, Potato, can you explain this? What happened was our Facebook changed over to, quote-unquote, the new Facebook, so we're trying to figure out how to go live on it, and we apparently did, so now we're live, which is great. But it's now giving me information that I have absolutely no desire to know, of just how many kbps video and how many Opus 21.4 kbps audio I'm getting. Can you explain the need for this, and the need for that counter to be distracting me through the whole show? Watch them. See, he's looking down. Your thoughts, Potato?
Told me he wants to do reading time, so this could be...
Yeah, this is Potato. This is interesting reading matter for the Potato. Your thoughts? I'm hungry. I want ketchup. That's not really helpful, Potato. But wait, let me take another gander. I'll start with this one first. Okay, fine. Yeah, okay, do you see? Yeah, okay, there's the audio. Now he's looking at the video down there. Oh, and there's an event.
I think he's staring at a picture of himself.
There's an event log. What's that? I'm afraid to touch it. I'm going to have to look that up later this week. There's another button I can push that says Actions Event Log. So if I get really, really excited and I lay down a log, ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you about it. But we've been doing this for almost 18 years. First, as I said, on Long Island, on terrestrial radio. Does that even still exist? And then made our way through internet radio for a while, and then onto college radio, which was wonderful, and then back to internet radio briefly until we landed on Facebook and video and audio, which has been great. And so through all of this, while we've tried to maintain certain aspects of the show from the very beginning, from the very start, it was an eclectic show. It was going to be about culture and skits and comedy and goofiness, and at least for a bunch of years, music. We've had to cut the music out because of copyright stuff, trying to do this on Facebook and post it on YouTube and stuff. But it's still all the talky stuff. And we weren't even supposed to be having really many interviews back in the day. It wasn't about that, because I was working in a place where half of my job was doing interviews with theater people and producers and famous people. I wanted this to be kind of a reprieve from that. I didn't want to talk to some famous actress because I already talked to 100 famous actresses. But as this has gone on, I'm like, it's kind of neat to talk to famous people and to get them on the show because it's my show. I'm not working for a big famous firm where I can just call up people and get them. If they're coming on this show, it's either because they dig what I do, or they're desperate for any kind of publicity and they'll do this show as well as any other, or just because, they get a bunch of requests from their press person, and the press person would know me and say, oh yeah, this guy's pretty cool. He'll do a good interview, and they would say yes. But initially, for the first year or so, we have very few interviews. We're really looking to do that. And we don't have a special guest, quote unquote, today. Don't need one. We're going to do a typical, standard, old-fashioned Dave's Gone By for this Saturday. And what that means is still an eclectic mix. So we will get cultural. We will talk a little bit about Broadway, because I've been a Broadway journalist and critic for a bunch of years. We'll have and I apologize for this, our wretched pun of destiny. Every week we make a terrible, and I mean this, a terrible play on words, which we'll have to do today with a Hawaiian vacation. That'll be our wretched pun. We will have our yesterday quiz. This is where I will ask a bunch of questions, and it's your job to answer them. And the questions will all be about June 13th in history. So no fair Googling, Binging, Wikiing, TikToking. What are some of these others? I don't know if you can search on TikTok. I don't know what the hell you can. You can't Instagram an answer to something.
You could probably tweet it and say, can someone help me find this answer? And people could tweet it back.
No fair phoning a friend or twittering, dinging a friend.
What about calling the psychic hotline and asking them? They could give you
If psychic hotline gives you the answer, I will allow it.
It's probably $9.95 a minute.
Yeah, it's the first thing they'll tell you that's actually realistically true if they look it up. But that'll be our yesterday quiz. Very excited about that. We will have, I already apologized for the wretched pun of destiny. I will also apologize even more for the Colorado limerick of the damned. Joyce and I lived in Colorado for a bunch of years, and for no particular reason, I started doing a pun about every single town and city in Colorado that I could possibly muster. And so we've been doing them week after week after week after week here on the program, our Colorado limericks of the damned. And today we go to another place that I had never heard of until I started scoping them out for the show. It's Fruita.
Oh no, Fruita is a rural area. Yeah,
you've heard of it?
Fruita.
Really?
Sure.
Oh, Mike, tell me. I mean, I'll tell everybody about Fruita.
No, I know it's a rural area. I know.
Yeah.
I should know. We did something there from the university, but I can't remember. But I remember because I always thought of fruit, like Fruita.
Well, yeah. So when we do our pun, our Colorado limerick of the damned about Fruita, Colorado, there will be peals of laughter.
So David, now you have to see this.
What?
So now when people watch the live video and they hover, look what they see. They can go back 10. It's like Netflix. You can go back 10 seconds. You can. It's like, see, look. I'll show you. I'm sorry, David.
Yeah, no, please. I'm as curious about this as anybody. Joyce, again, because Facebook's sort of, again, we're doing the new, I guess, doing Facebook 3.0, and now I hear myself from 10 seconds ago. That's cool. Here.
See?
Oh, there I am.
They can do back.
Yeah.
They can do 10 back, 10 forward play, and they can do all of the no comments. They can do a bunch of stuff.
I think it's amazing that my nose is even uglier in past tense. I don't think that would be possible, but there, especially in profile, it's just, this thing that they surgically tried to correct when I was born. It's like, yeah, it's somehow in what?
So Stephen started a watch party for you, and he said,
"Thank you, Stephen."
He said something really nice.
Is this Steve F, our friend of the day?
Yeah. He said, I know this guy since high school. He's see what a nice thing. I can't find it. Hold on, I gotta find it.
Thank you, Stephen. I hope you're doing great, and I hope you're healthy, and etc. and so forth.
Oh, David, it was so nice. He said he started a watch party, and he said, I know this guy since high school. Like, he's really great. He wrote a lot of compliments.
Well, thanks, man. Thank you so much. And I think we'll get him back if we do a New Year's show. If we make it to the end of 2020, all of us, we'll probably do a New Year's show again, and would love to invite Stephen to be on that because it's so great to talk to him.
Wasn't he sat next to me watching your show?
Oh, he came to.
Oh, and David G joined.
Yeah. Oh, another high school pal.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Nobody is actually watching this show except people I went to high school with and relatives. That's what I do every Saturday.
I just can't find people because I'm slow today, honey.
Well, while
it said here, I'm going to read it to you.
Yeah, please.
He said, "Okay, wait, I'm doing something a little weird. Hold on. Oh, that's why."
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll use my potato here. It's a lot easier. Yeah. I should use corn because it has better ears.
It said, where'd it go?
Oh, I don't know. Well, you know what? While you're looking for it, I'm going to play our theme music because I haven't even done that yet. Welcome to the Daverhood on this 750th episode of the program, which always...
Oh, and Stephen just waved at you.
Hi, Stephen. We start like this.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. There goes the Daverhood.
And there was much rejoicing.
Didn't your meds kick in yet?
We got David Lefkowitz here. He's a Long Island arts guy. He's got his own radio show.
I want you all to really enjoy a wonderful program done by a fine artist.
A glorious thing of unparalleled beauty.
Dave's Gone By. Dave is one of my very favorite broadcasters, so keep on listening to Mr. Dave.
Oh, a tropical hot dog morning. It is, ladies and gentlemen, here in the Daverhood, June 13th, 2020. Thank you all for tuning in, whether you're watching on watch parties or just right directly here. Yeah.
Somebody used to, Stephen, when he started the watch party, said, "This is Dave Lefkowitz, my old friend from junior high and high school. He has a very entertaining program."
Oh, much love to you.
He's a strong supporter. He
is.
In the Daverhood, he would be like the block captain. You know, like every block had a captain when you had like a community watch or community.
Yes.
So he would be like the head.
He's the scoutmaster. He would
be like the leader.
Well, and by the way, Steve, I'm not going to mention their names.
What?
But a pair of very strange people that we went to school with, that my friends and I were in a band with.
Oh, say hi to Warhol.
Hello, Warhol. I ran into this week at the supermarket.
Oh,
what can I tell? Yeah.
And somebody said, Denise said, "You go, Dave."
Thank you, Denise. But what does the nephew say?
You know, people can delete comments too.
But seriously, I want to use their names, but I don't want to use their names. Steve will know who I'm talking about. But these were two brothers that we grew up with, and they're kind of, I don't know, how would you even describe them?
I may have you switch to hotspot. You're getting...
Am I getting kind of whatever? Well, it's looking all right.
Okay.
So they were in, let me put it this way. You will find them in a movie that just got posted on Netflix. I haven't seen it yet. It's an Adam Sandler film called Uncut Gems. And it's directed by a guy named Oren Safdie. And somehow he knows these two brothers who grew up in this town. They're musicians. One of them is an autograph collector. The other, I don't know what he actually does, but when you see them in the film, you will never forget them. We we've known them in the Daverhood for a very long time. I don't want to mention their names because they're just you look at them and you're like, how do I even describe it? Not the Lids brothers. They're the kinds of brothers who would live in an apartment together and collect newspapers until they can't move anymore. Except they don't do. One of them has an apartment in New York.
Are they hoarders?
I don't think, but they're the kind of people who ought to be hoarders.
They would be hoarders.
Yeah, and when you ask them a question, or if they'll ask you a question, they'll give you about 4 seconds to answer it before asking you. Yeah, so like. Trout Mask Replica's a good album, right? That's Beefheart, right? Yeah, it's Captain Beefheart, and it was his and Frank Zappa. You like Dylan?
Like?
Is Dylan good?
Is that a accent?
It's their brainwave pattern. If you see them in Uncut Gems, one of them has actually got some traction as an actor because Safdie, the director, apparently casts unknown actors in some of his roles because they're physically right for it and they just have the right presence for it. And they've gotten some notoriety now. I think it's tragic in my particular terms that I grew up, I wanted to be a filmmaker, I wanted to be an actor, a director, a playwright, and I did all the right things, and I got a master's degree in dramatic writing, and I tried writing plays, tried writing a couple of screenplays, and got out there and tried to act a little bit while also trying to earn a living, and all this while, other people I went to school with who had no business, I'm not saying I'm that much more talented than anybody else, but I have a certain level of talent and believability, or else you wouldn't be tuning in. And yet, there's people who get into major Hollywood movies with Adam Sandler. And I'm sitting here doing this. And if you see these two guys...
Yeah, but are they getting paid, do you think?
I'm sure they did.
How much do you think you get paid for... Is it a cameo role, or what kind of...
Well, I think the older brother probably got some good money because he's got lines. If you remember, there's... we talked a few years ago to another friend of ours from that era, from our high school, John DeResta, who was a New York City transit cop, turned stand-up comedian, turned sort of actor, and he got the big break. He got a role in a movie, not a huge role, but 1 or 2 good scenes, and he made a ton of money. Really? I mean, he made enough money that he hadn't spent it all.
Do you mean like $10,000? Or...
Way higher. It bought him a house, yeah.
You mean like maybe $500,000?
I less than that, but I think it was like high 5 figures or something. I have to go back and listen to the really. It's not an under 5. It's not an extra.
I'm gonna become what's the Mama June or not Mama June? The one, Mama Rose. I'm gonna put a little makeup on you, put a bow in your hair.
Me, I got the bow. I already have the bow.
You gotta make some money. Mama needs some new stuff.
But I'm sure
Mama needs a tiny house.
You get that one break. And you capitalize on it, and I don't know why they're not capitalizing it, because I met these brothers in the supermarket, and like, can you get us a right to CBS?
Yeah, but David, don't you think that like how do people? So if you're in one movie and people like you, like the Lewis guy you had, right, or one show, don't other people pick you up?
If you're lucky, if you get notoriety, that gives you an agent. If the agent sees something in you that's a commodity that could be bankable, and
you stopped and you went back, yeah.
Okay. So.
What do you want to do?
No, I'm continuing. I'm doing what I do.
Okay.
So.
How do you get a role? How do you continue to get parts?
Well, then you have to be kind of aggressive and show the agent, hey, I'm in an Adam Sandler movie featured in a scene. And guarantee if Woody Allen was still allowed to make movies, if he saw these brothers, he would find a role for them. Because Woody Allen, from the very beginning, was casting people, even in Annie Hall, who just, you see them on screen, it's like, where did you find that human being? Right? And Orrin Safdie found them. And I found them in the supermarket this week, and they asked after you, Steve. That's how we got into all this.
How did he find them?
They were in a short movie of his, or they had a cameo.
But even then, like, how do you just? It's like a modeling thing where you go on the street and you see somebody.
Or maybe he knew them from Long Island.
Will you be on my video? I mean.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it happens differently for everybody. You know, so that's
nobody's going to be discovered on the street anymore.
Says who? Well, no, people are discovered because they post 4-second memes on Instagram. You know, somebody clicked that, post it, and if it gets 10 million views, Hollywood sits up and takes notice, or TV sits up and takes notice. The advertising world is, oh, we need that guy. You know, that is the way it's done. There are internet stars now who are known just for pulling a face or wearing something or doing a YouTube video, and this is how oh my gosh, I can see some of the messages. So Denise said, you go, Dave. That's right. Thank you, Denise.
Oh, you're seeing stuff now.
Stephen Fish says, actually, the older brother was in a short film years before made by the same producer brothers as the Sandler film.
There you go.
That's what happened with Larry Bud Melman.
You love him.
In the obviously YouTube days, in the pre-everything. Calvert DeForest, Larry Bud Melman.
Was he a pharmacist?
No, I think he was a clerk. He was just a little office job, trying to be an actor. No talent at being an actor, but still getting cast in like BZ grade films.
That never stopped anybody. Yeah.
But what happened was he was in a short movie done by an NYU student. That's why people do NYU student movies and Columbia student
film.
Yeah, no, a little like 15-minute thesis film.
Our friend's daughter does that too in LA. She'll do like a lot of even like industry films and stuff because you never know, right? You never know who's. Because
I would never understand why would people who have off-Broadway credits, people not necessarily that you heard of, but even when I was at NYU as an undergrad, I would get these resumes of people, and they'd done regional theater. Why they do? There's no pay. Yeah. It's miserable hours, and you're dealing with kids who've never made a real movie before. Why? Because
exposure?
Stuff can happen.
Yeah.
And back then, it wasn't like every person had a phone to make a video. Mm-hmm. You had a student. There was a film that was submitted into festivals. People in the NYU Film Festival saw it.
I remember my friend Nat, her husband, they used to have a nonprofit where kids made films, and I went to an independent film festival in New York.
There you go.
And it was all like short films, and then I think they won an award, but it was a while ago, but I enjoyed it, and they were all sorts of topics, and I don't think they were all made by teens or kids, but they were great.
Yeah. No, and if you're lucky,
someone sees it.
So what happened with Larry Bud was one of those filmmakers, or someone who saw one of those short films, ended up being a staffer at the Letterman show.
6 degrees.
And they went to. I said, "There's this guy. Let's use him for like a funny piece." Back when Letterman was on in the morning, in that quote unquote failed morning show that he was doing before he moved to late night.
Yeah.
And they created this character of Larry Bud Melman, driver of Melman bus. And it changed Calvert's life from doing that student film. That's what people hope for. That's also the dream. Anyway, it's about 9:30, just about 9:30 in the morning Eastern time here in the Daverhood. We're doing our 750th episode of Dave's Gone By. We're calling it Riot Gear because it's just, I'm not a riot girl, obviously. I'm not even a riot guy. I'm the opposite of a riot guy. I like to incite riots and then go very, very far away and watch. I don't want to be part of it. I'm too delicate, But it's just, the world is just, it's batshit now, isn't it? I'll be talking about that, not right now, but gotta weigh in. I couldn't do it last week because we did our Tony show.
Which was excellent. It was excellent. You got a lot of good comments.
Got great comments, got great people on the show. My theater critic, some of my theater, some couldn't appear.
Actor.
Well, Louis J. Stadlin.
He was awesome.
Yes.
He was great. I was surprised by the level of candidness he used.
Yes.
Yeah,
talking about Mickey Rooney's dead. You can
but
say what you want
even
about him.
Mel Brooks, I was like, whoa,
yeah.
he was you know, I'm sure that this is going to be in this next book, or if it's not in the first book, but I thought this man has got a library in him.
Well, this is a man who also, as he said, Louis J. Stadlin, the actor who was on Broadway in a bunch of shows with Nathan Lane, and he's toured. He was in Hello Dolly with Betty Buckley
That was
recently.
his favorite. That was, he said that was,
he loves Betty Buckley.
Yeah, I think he said that was one of his favorite experiences, yeah.
But the thing was, he's also at the point, as he said in his career, he's not going to, he can live well enough on what he has. So if something special comes up, he'll do it. But he's not, he's not just going to take jobs. Not going to. So if you're at that I don't give a shit point in your career,
no, I don't.
You can say stuff.
I don't think it's I don't give a shit. It's like I've done what I needed to do.
Yeah.
Because I feel the same way in many aspects. Like, you don't need to prove yourself in some ways because you're secure that you've done the things you wish to do.
Yeah. But the thing is, if you think you're going to work with Mandy Patinkin again, you're not gonna say what Mandy Patinkin really
I see what you're saying.
did. If you think, well, Mel Brooks will put you in another
but look
movie.
what they did to, what is it, Idina Menzel? No.
Yeah.
No. Who's the one on Glee? They were all saying she was really
Lea Michele.
Yes.
Ooh, yeah, everybody's piling on her.
So my thing is, like, she's a powerhouse, you know, and you know, people are speaking out, right? So you would say
but they didn't when Glee was on the air.
Yeah, but they might want to work with her again if they're in the same kind of, and you know, like you said, everybody knows everybody. Everybody gets hired from the same thing. You just said it. So, like, why would they say something against somebody who could be in a show or could make, you know, could influence someone hiring them or not hiring them?
Yeah, you have a good point. She's young and very likely to work with these people. That's interesting. You're right.
Like that to me is odd because if she has power and people are saying that stuff, like,
that's true. As opposed to like a Harvey Weinstein thing,
yeah,
where people wouldn't say because he was so powerful, and Jeffrey Epstein, you just let it go.
I mean, she's not a producer or director, but if people hire her, she could say, "I will not work with Joan Smith. I will not work with Joseph Smith," right? And then they're not going to be hired. I mean, that's what. Yeah. It must have been so much of a tipping point for people. I don't know what.
Well, also, it's that thing where it takes one person to move the pebble by the boulder. And when that one person is brave enough to go, you know what? I don't care. I don't ever. If I were hired on a project with her for a million, I still wouldn't do it.
Well, you know what?
And the boulder
think
moves.
Of it when Lewis talked about Mel Brooks that way. Like, when he was good, but when he was bad, like, steer clear.
Yeah. And he's not the first.
No, I don't know. But what I'm saying is, like, it's that idea that a person may be creative, maybe, you know, brilliant, but they also, you know, are complicated in that way. Yeah, you're complicated.
Yeah. I mean, and I try not to be cruel, but I have anger issues, as you well know.
Oh my God. Wait, here, do some exercising here.
Oh, here we go.
Use your therapy bands. Go ahead.
Oh,
Wait, you want the blue one or you want
yellow? Yellow's good.
Okay, yellow's okay.
It was white until I peed on it one time. But
no, you stretch. There you go. Stretch. Release your anger. Release. Okay, let go. There you go. Let
me do one more.
There you go. Okay. Don't give yourself a stroke.
I'm the incredible bulk. Gentlemen. Oh my gosh.
Come here, this will make you.
What is that? Oh. There we go. Aye, sir. No, I was trying to make a pun there, but it's not really working. I gotta shift that. So here's the deal. What else were we gonna talk about? I mean, there's so much to talk about. I'm kind of slid into it by talking about those two brothers, and then sort of, you know, we're talking about the Tony Awards and everything. You don't want me to talk about all the stuff I really want to talk about, but I'll get to that later.
Not with me, I won't be there.
But we can talk about Corona and where we're at, and like half the country is getting it again. You know, whether it's from the rallies, the protests, whatever, or more likely just because it's been opening up.
Third eye, honey, it's falling off.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Aye. There we go. I guess, you know what? The eye thing was cute, but now it's time to put a lid on it.
That's sad, honey.
Yeah, 30 lashes for me. So but this is the deal.
Yeah.
Because here in New York, because where we are, it never felt that big to at least our circle, because it never really touched us. We kept hearing, oh my God, Woodmere is a hot spot, and Cedarhurst and Hempstead is a hot spot, and we're gonna die. We're gonna get it. I'm gonna have these lung problems and put on a ventilator, and I'm gonna get sick. And when it didn't happen, and it didn't happen, and it didn't happen, and weeks went by, and it was like, whew, either dodged a bullet, or it was a rubber bullet to begin with. We heard, and we gotten it, and it wasn't like a bad flu, and boom. So we don't. And people got stir crazy, and people got bored, and people wanted to get out and do. And finally, Governor Cuomo said, "Okay, carefully start to go out and do." Yeah. But expectedly,
Cuomo said, "Carefully, everybody, we gotta get out. We're gonna get out. We're getting out. We're gonna go out." Here I got a slide. The slide says,
"Go out.
We're going out."
Yeah.
But we shouldn't go out.
Well,
because we shouldn't go out, because this is the slide.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, look at, I don't know how open Florida and all these southern states were, or it was just this disease moves like a swarm, whether or not open or closed. It just, didn't it? It was moving in one direction. It came from China, apparently, then it went through Europe, hit the United States, really slammed the Northeast, and then started moving away from the Northeast and down and out, and as opposed to just like hitting all of America. I don't know why it kind of moves like that. If I'm wondering if COVID is simply carried by Amtrak. There's not people on Amtrak, just the actual trains itself. Because it's in the Northeast corridor, it's not moving, and then it takes a trip and it winds up somewhere in South Carolina, and suddenly South Carolina has COVID. It's like, but it's this. And did you hear the most magnificent thing? More absurdity, day by day by day. Did you hear White House economic spokesperson Larry Kudlow, who used to be, I think it was on MSNBC or CNN. He was one of those commentators. Yeah. And, of course, Trump plucked him for an economist because he was on TV. Not a health guru, not a CDC czar or a WHO person. Who? A WHO person. Who? Yeah, World Health Organization. So, no, just this economist guy. And he was told that apparently like half of the United States, but not in our region here, has been getting more incidences of COVID now. Apparently a lot of these places that either weren't that closed down to begin with or more opening up. A lot of the South, the West, Midwest, and that they've had spikes in coronavirus. Wow. And Larry Kudlow, and this is a quote, I've paraphrased the quote. He says, "It's not a spike, it's a jump." You can read the newspaper, the absurdity, anything joke that we can make.
Who is this?
This is Larry Kudlow. You recognize him if you saw him.
Does he have any training in like...
He's not even a disease guy. He is an economic guy. He's the guy who's saying it's okay to open stores again.
You know why? Because he's using economic projection probably, but not medical model.
Yeah, nothing medical about the man at all. Wow. But the parsing of words, and I'm an English teacher, so I can say the parsing that it's not a spike, he said. No, he denied that this was a spike. It is, however, he said this, a jump. It's a jump in things. Does a spike mean that it's just slower to come down?
So what a spike means is like flat, flat, flat. You're plateauing, and then there's a sudden increase.
Yes.
And usually a spike is the increase and then the decrease. That's the spike.
So a jump.
So when you spike a fever, you're.
I get that, but you go down immediately?
No.
Well, no.
But I mean, a jump.
Yes.
Why not just say increase?
Even if he said increase, a significant, because it would be a significant increase, not just like.
Why is he saying?
Because he's a moron.
Oh, okay.
Or because he is forced by the politics of the White House to try and put lipstick on a pig, to try and say, we're in recovery mode, we're in reopening mode, we're going to ignore the data, and we're going to ignore certain aspects of data that would tell us maybe we should be a little more cautious with this reopening stuff. And maybe stay in phase one or phase 2 for another 2 or 3 weeks before we hit the phase 3, where things, people sit in restaurants. These are states and cities where people are at 25% capacity sitting in restaurants again and getting haircuts. And
wow, really?
so I think people are getting haircuts here. Things are open. They opened this past Wednesday, but that gave me a big laugh this week. What did not give me a big laugh this week, I have to say, was, oh, weepy, 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 poor me.
What?
I had to go back to work. As you might know, I have a day job. And, or at least I had a day job until the middle of March. At which point, the powers that be at this place that we work at is a public facility, a state, I guess we would say, it's not a .gov, but it is an important state-related facility. And so we said, well, stay home. We're going to clean the place out. We're going to wait for the government. We're going to wait for news from the governor, from the president, to see what is happening and what to do. I mean, this is March. We're all like crazy scared and not knowing what the hell is going to happen. So he sent us home. And I thought we'd be out for a week. I thought, okay, they got to clean the place down, spick and span every faucet, every nozzle, spray everything, put in, just have sanitizer everywhere, and glad we're back. And week after week after week, the place was closed and everybody was home. The most fantastic 3 months of my life, ladies and gentlemen. It was, every week I'd be like, no, I don't have to go. Now, I couldn't really leave my house. Nobody could potentially actually leave and go anywhere. I would go to the supermarket, go to the bank, go to the supermarket, go to the bank, pick up some food somewhere. And that was all I was doing. There was no place to go, nothing to do. And you were scared to go out and do anything. But still, I'm a homebody. I love being home. I was thrilled. I didn't have to spend 8 hours a day dealing with okay people that I wouldn't ordinarily associate with outside of the confines of that building, doing work that is mindless and not pointless, but certainly not related to anything that I would care about or want to do, right? And for day after day, I'm like, I'm just going to go and work on the archives of Dave's Gone By and make sure all the links work. And I'm going to take all these old writings of mine that were published back before the internet era and post them on davelefkowitz.org so people can read the reviews I wrote of off-Broadway. There's no reviews of these anywhere except maybe for one New York Times review. Wow. Now, it's not just my ego being stroked if people can read my work again. It's like, I'm curious about this show. I can't find anything else about it on the internet. He reviewed it in 1991. What was it? And I'm putting those.
One of your egg cream or Italian soda?
That would be lovely. Thank you very much.
Italian soda or egg cream?
Italian, please. Thank you. And so I'm putting these back on. I'm spending my time retyping things that I wrote 30 years ago, 35 years ago, and posting them and getting on my website and doing some stuff for the website. And I'm having a blast. And I apologize to people who had it miserably for the past, who are lonely. I'm
going to go get a spoon.
Thank you, Ben. Who are sitting at home. They don't have really a circle of friends except maybe by telephone and the occasional, WhatsApp call. And people have been suffering. There are people who I've tried to get on this program as guests, and they were just ordinarily, yes, but I'm depressed. This has been a very tough time for me. There's a composer who's been looking after his wife who's been really ill. I don't think it's with COVID. I think it was something else. And she and he's just like, I can't deal. Thank you very much. I can't deal with anything else right now. I get it. Some people have it.
Refreshing.
It's lovely. Thank you.
You got some likes from Rodolfo as well.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, and then Ariana said, thank you for the birthday shout out.
Oh, you're welcome. Oh, Ariana from she was from the NEA USC thing that we went to.
Oh, out in
Yeah. So here's the deal. Where was I? Gone. Well, no, just talking about going back to work.
No, you've had it fairly easy and relatively been lucky compared to others who are taking care of their family. People are sick. People have.
So I understand that I probably had a much mellower time of this whole thing and appreciated the downtime. And I'm someone who has had periods of time when I wasn't working, or I was working part or just from home, or doing freelance stuff. So it was a wonderful thing to come back to that and suddenly remember how neat it was not to have to get up early in the morning and not to have to go and schlep in and deal with supervisors and punch and do all that. So, and I'm just luxuriating this and assuming that I wouldn't really have to deal with work again until phase 3 or 4, right? Because it's a public building, we're dealing with stuff that goes in, that comes back out, and it's just a whole mess of problems of this very, not consumer-driven, but open to the public-driven facility. And then I get a call from my direct supervisor who says, yes, it was Tuesday morning, and he's like, you're coming in Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Was it a man or a woman?
A woman. And of course, the inner me wants to say, go fuck yourself, but the outer me says, well, okay. We had been sort of promised that we would be given more of a heads up, that we would have been told, oh, okay, in a couple of days, you're going to come in half a day, do this, not, 24 hours. Because hey, how dare you? And it's amazing how lazy and entitled I got immediately. This is a company, but I wasn't furloughed, by the way. I wasn't unemployed. Thanks to the union and thanks to the nice people there, I was kept fully paid on the books for staying home and doing virtually nothing. I had to do a little bit of light task work and report it so that if they get audited by the government, what were we paying these people for? Oh, they were doing this is horseshit, really. But I was home and paid with benefits. Mwah, mwah, God bless them. For 3 months, just about. 1 week, less than 3 months. And yet here I am, and I get a phone call from a supervisor, and it's like, yep, you're coming in half a day tomorrow. I'm like, God damn it! God, how dare they? How dare they give me 3 or 4 days notice? Did I just suddenly... I don't know if I'm still running. It's saying they're having trouble running my video. Let me know if I stop. Let me know if I freeze. Can we make an automatic switch, or do I have to stop?
No, we can make. I think we can.
So let's see.
I believe we can. If not, you'll yell at me.
Yeah. I might have to disappear.
Wait, not yet. No,
and then I'll come back. It still says that I'm live, so I'm just not seeing me. I'm seeing a blank screen saying, "Sorry, we're having trouble playing this video." So maybe I'm visual to all of you.
No, live video interrupted.
Ah, okay. Well, so I'm not saying F you to my supervisor. I'm saying it to Facebook.
Wait. Now you're back.
Am I?
Yeah, now you're back. Look, is this... let me hear you. Hold on.
It may end up being a separate... Who says, yes, it was Tuesday morning, and you're coming in Wednesday.
Yeah.
And then I stopped. So am I live now?
Yeah, live video interrupted. It was paused. It says.
Well, there goes the Daverhood again. Here comes the Daverhood back. Here back comes the Daverhood. Here returns. That's good. Here returns the Daverhood. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks for bearing with us. I think everybody who has been dealing for the past 3 months with Zoom and with trying to have meetings and things understands what we're going through in terms of internet connection, in terms of being able to do something that, thanks to our Comcast, Xfinity, fine internet providers here for $200 a month, we can't even stream a show for more than an hour without being knocked off. But we're back. So please tune back in, or if you know somebody who was tuned in and got dumped, then by all means, please tell them that we are back. And we're back here until noon-ish or thereabouts, as we are every Saturday here in the Daverhood. It's about 5 to 10, so I'll remind you that this is the 750th episode of Dave's Gone By. It is June 13th, 2020. We're calling this one Riot Gear because it's just the times we live in. I'm Dave Lefkowitz. My darling wife has been helping out with the program. And so, yeah, it's a very standard old school program for our 450th. It's going to involve our Greeley Crimes and Old Times segment. It's going to involve our Colorado Limerick of the Damned, where we go to Fruita, Colorado. We'll also have our Today Yesterday quiz for all things happening on June 13th. We'll have a Wretched Pun of Destiny, all about a Hawaiian vacation. And, let's see, Dave's Big Dictionary. We've even got that happening, where if there's action, we're going to probably run out of time now that we lost about 5-10 minutes. But yes, we'll go through Webster's dictionary from God knows when. Joyce will pick a word at random from this book, and I'm going to have to extemporize about it for a period of time. And what else? We'll have... Oh, and if there's time, I will spout off a bit more about what we've all been living with and dealing with for not just the past 3 months, but the past couple of weeks. So where we last left off in our cliffhanger was, I was just, before we lost our internet feed, we were, I got a message coming from Mrs. saying that I am live now. Yeah, thank goodness. That's I am indeed live, which is good. So, and I'm coming to you at 233.4 kbps. Just thought you all want to know that, and 32.9 kbps of audio. Because I wouldn't settle for, say, 34.2 kbps of audio. Not enough. Even now I'm down to 47.9 on my audio. It keeps changing on me. Give me some steady audio, please. Unless maybe when I'm quiet it needs more, or I don't know how many kbps I did. I gotta look that up. Anyway, we're live, as you can probably tell.
The quality of the video is like 100 billion times better.
Oh, is it better? That's good.
100 billion times.
All right, so we're just gonna get a new modem, or
also if I leave the door open, you might get better Wi-Fi. Anything blocking. So
that's interesting. Okay,
if it's noisy, you let me know what I need to do.
Yeah, we'll try whatever we can to bring this program to you.
Much nicer.
Yeah, and by the way, if you want to know more about the program, go to davesgoneby.com. That is the official website. Daves, Daves, goneby.com. This is where you can, people who lost the feed of the show and aren't coming back, if they want to come back later and watch the what?
Difference.
Yeah, let me see.
Like this is you now here, clear, right, clear, and that's you there. See, depixelating.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And look how much clear. See, clear.
Because we have better internet in this room, so for the direct, not that I mind this is a lovely little setup. So,
let me know if you need to.
davesgoneby.com is the website for the show, and we have the archives there from the very first one. I was talking about that at the very beginning of the show, that in October of 2002, I sat down in a terrestrial radio station at 11 o'clock at night with sheets of paper.
It was like a dissertation, Boba.
Everything written out to a T.
115 pages to somebody who had mild dyslexia.
Yeah, well, the engineer, Paul, our engineer there, I handed him literally like 30 pages for a 60-minute show. And I said, well, this is this. And I had it literally timed to like 5 seconds for 57 minutes of airtime. And it got pretty close. It actually came out pretty well.
I think he was tortured, though.
and as time went on and I learned to do the program and I got a lot more comfortable, now I'm as you can see, very, very off script most of the time. Although things like the Limerick of the Damned and the Wretched Pun are pre-written, and some of the rabbi's material I write for him. But if you want to hear that verse, because there's audio only, you can find it at davesgoneby.com. If you want to hear our 10th show, our 75th show, right? Which, can you believe we have 10 times that many since this is now our 750th. They're all at davesgoneby.com. Absolutely free to stream and enjoy. Also, our interviews. Even though we don't have any interviews this week, We've got hundreds of them with famous people, some not so famous people. Some of the links are broken here and there, but we're going through them. We're getting, like the last 11 years, we actually have fixed and are great separate interviews. So you don't have to wait through the entire program if you want to hear interviews with people ranging, thank you very much, from Fivish Finkel to, thank you, to Carol Channing.
How's your internet? How's your video quality speed?
Looking, our video is 466.2 kbps right now.
Thank God.
Yeah. So, now what was I saying?
And you're fixing all the things, backing up the episodes online.
Exactly. Yeah. And they're there. We're fixing. So check out the website davesgoneby.com. davesgoneby.com. And you can also, just so you know, Facebook archives all the shows we do. So every show that we've done on video, which is now about for 3 years now, just about.
How many?
For the past 3 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Think about it. I mean, we left Colorado about 1.5 years ago, and we were doing this in Colorado live from my office at school and from the radio station.
3 years.
Yeah, just about. So all of those videos, not only are they archived at davesgoneby.com, but they're archived at the on this Facebook page. So when this live show is over, you want to watch an old show from the past 3 years, just keep scrolling down. You have to hit see more. See more. And I don't know why see more is involved, but hit see more, and it'll take you all the way to the first show that we did on video right here on Facebook. And then we also have some of our or like the last 10, 11 years of our audios posted at castbox.fm. So if you're into just podcasts and you don't want to sit here watching for 3-4 hours, you can listen to the show from wherever you are. And the best way to do that is probably castbox.fm, which is specifically for podcasts.
Google Podcast.
Or yeah, you can find us on Google Podcast. Amazing, right? And you can also find the last 11 years of our shows and interviews archived at archive.org, which is this marvelous nonprofit repository of all things audio, video of the 20th century and 21st century. So check them out. All these different places, and YouTube, where you can see our show. You can't watch our show straight live because of technical difficulties, but you can watch the old ones at your leisure for free in all these different places. So I was talking about going back to work this week and being all disgruntled and kind of pissed off. I was like, oh, God, they told me to go back to work. They didn't even give me 24 hours when technically I'm supposed to be working for them all the way, all those weeks I was not there and not having really much to do at all. And now I'm so entitled. I'm like, how dare they? How dare they actually make me come in and work for the money they're paying me? Now, granted, they don't pay me a lot of money. I think one of the nice things of being off for 3 months is that it evens out my horrible salary. And it actually makes it a decent salary for the year because of, if I work 9 months out of the year, that's not a bad wage, and with benefits. For 12 months, it sucks. So I gotta be, but I gotta be nice about that. But the thing that shocked me about coming back to work is that I was gone for 3 months, hadn't set foot in the building. And I was under the impression, here's the point of closing this thing to people was that it was going to be changed for the COVID era.
Oh, yeah.
That they would figure out, they would listen to the CDC, they would listen to all these other libraries all over the world. Oh, I just gave it away. I work for a library. Okay. All these places all over the world, right? And figure, how are they doing? What?
Jig is up.
How are they doing it? How are they sterilizing this? How are they managing
they're
that?
Spraying it with oogie stuff.
Well, so I walk into the place, and the first thing that everybody said, the first thing that we all asked for, when they said, well, what would make you feel more comfortable coming back? How would you feel safer and better working in this environment? And we all said, well, the one thing you've got to change, the one thing you've got to take away is the way we punch in. because we have a machine where you take one of your fingers and you put it down on this glass plate and you hold it there, and then it reads your fingerprint, and you have a code, and you type in your code, and then it registers you automatically as entering and leaving the... And this thing has been the bane of our existence since it's fucking been there for half a year. This thing, half the time it doesn't work. Half the time you put I used to do my index finger and that stuff. You put it down, and it cannot read.
No,
It doesn't speak to you. But you get an error message. And then you have to wait like 2 seconds.
If it starts to speak to you, then you need some seconds.
But and then of course, if everybody's leaving at 5 o'clock, you've got a line of people who are waiting for you to check out. And now you feel at fault because my God, I have no fingerprints. I should go rob a bank because apparently my fingerprints are unreadable by media. So you wait, and then you put your finger down as it cannot read, and then you just you insert your code and get the hell out of there after like 3 times. Because apparently it is still registering. It's just not telling you that it's registering.
That's hokey, no?
It has its own mind. It's like, I'm gonna show you're in.
It's like all the computers we see on the original Star Trek. They seem to be helpful, and they go all the way.
Exactly. It's HAL. It's HAL 9000. It's like, you are clocking in, but I'm not going to tell you. You're going to have to guess. But the other point of this thing is, yes, there's...
David, if you don't clock in, what happens?
Well, then you get...
They see you working there.
It doesn't matter. Then you get called in by the supervisor and the admin staff. It's like, you got to remember to clock in. Because sometimes you forget. Sometimes you walk in, or you forget to clock out, or you clock out the wrong... I mean, it's like, they're anal about that. There's no question.
That's crazy, Macon.
And they have to, because it involves your paycheck. It's about how many hours you work, right? So, but this thing is, you're coming into this building, and the first thing that you're doing in this post-COVID era is taking your finger, putting it down on a piece of glass where the last 50 people just put their naked fingers down on glass. This is after being out for 3 months because you're not allowed to touch anything. Because you're supposed to wear gloves everywhere. That's bullshit. Because you're, trying to avoid the oils and greases and salivas and phlegm and sputum and hangnail of other people. And the first thing that happens when you come back in is you put your thing down on the same thing that was there that we all begged them to take away in the first place. And it's like, okay, I've got my thumb, and now my thumb is covered with the germs of the last 10 people who use this. Because nobody's wiping that down. People are cleaning their hands. Nobody's wiping down the surface of that glass. It's kind of like, during the past few weeks when I would go to the bank and use the ATM, nobody's wiping that down. People come in, and it's like you touch the buttons, even worse, because the buttons, they're metal or they're plastic or something like that. You don't see anything. They just look like buttons. But the screen, man, when you use the bank cash machine and it's got the video screen and it's all touch, right? So now you've got to take your naked fingers and you see the smears of other people's hands and the spill that they had when they were standing at these cash machines, right? And what can you do? And the bank machine doesn't have sanitizer. They got nothing. They only have handy wipes. So you're there and like, okay, deposit. I want to print out. And your finger just on this screen. And the next 50 people who use that screen, it's like they're getting your germs, you're getting their germs. And they wonder how this spreads. So I walk in to this place where I work. And okay, so they didn't do anything with that. We're using the same exact machine in the exact same way of going into this building when we're still technically sort of in a pandemic. Fine. And I walk in, I go up to the upstairs area where we work, and and I go to use the bathroom. Has the bathroom been changed?
Did you go in the bathroom this time?
Not one bit. I mean, it's been clean, it's been wiped down. But the nice thing is that the toilets in this place, and this was months ago, they changed out the toilets. There's no flush handles. It's one of these know-it-all toilets where it knows when someone's back is in front of it, or obviously urinal, your front is in front of it, and when you step away, like magic, the flush happens. Yay! But in terms of the sinks, the faucets, whether it's the public bathrooms downstairs with like a pump hand. You hit the pump thing and the water comes out. Or upstairs where they actually still have handle. I thought, oh, well, they'll switch those out. They'll make, like you have in Lincoln Center and places like that, they'll get the sinks where I hate them.
At Penn Station.
Penn Station, yeah. I hate these things because they never work for me. I wave my hand. I'm like, where's the wand? Where's the thing? I put my hand for the water. It's accidentally the soap. I put my hand for the soap. It's the water. And sometimes it doesn't work at all. So I make believe I'm washing my hands so people aren't grossed out and I just get the hell out of there. But in this case, they didn't bother creating a new sink. It's the same sink with the same handles and the same pumpy flushy thing. Oh, not flushy. The same, downstairs bathroom sink where you push down the thing. And now I'm like, okay, all right. I'm washing my hands. Boom. I plunge down. I wash whatever is on there off it.
Sorry.
No, thanks, because I don't want the noise. Thank you. And now I realize I'm also leaving the room. And they had mentioned in meetings that we had a couple of Zoom meetings during the period when we were off, where they were talking about all the different things that they would try and think and work with the government to get, if we have the budget to do, to make sure things are the same. What about a thing where you open the door with your foot?
Yes.
Like, a pedestal, a little thing where you press down and the door opens, right? Brilliant. Great. Did they do this? Fuck no. And I realize now that after I've washed my hands clean, I'm going to the doorknob. Or it's a long
newspaper
door.
towel.
Yeah. Sometimes I remember to do that. Sometimes I think, what? This towel I just used to dry my hands, I'm going to hold on to it.
Some people don't wash their hands after they do a pee-pee.
Right. And I usually do. I try to wash my hands. But what I'm saying is, they go through, or they didn't go through anything. They had the cleaners clean and vacuum. Oh boy, they vacuumed. Wow. So, but I finished washing my hands, and now I've got the same filthy door handle that everybody's using to use. And my cousin Cynthia, they're on, and yes, Cynthia, there will be a today. This is why she carries Clorox wipes with me. But, so that when you have to hold the door or get a door, you open and you're not touching. But it's amazing that after you come out of the bathroom, you have to wash your fucking hands again. Because what you've done to get, you've gotten your germs off your hands after you've touched your willy or your poopy, but you're now touching other people's goopies.
No, your jingle hopper.
Well, after I've held my jingle hopper and wiped my gobstopper, now I'm reinfecting myself. I'm not worried about my own germs. If I touch my penis and there's a little bit of pee and it gets on it's my pee. I'll deal. It's in me, now it's on me, it's pee. Come on. If I wipe my tuchus and I get a little on my finger, gross. It's mine. Okay? And in some ways it's part of me. It's my DNA. I'm attached to it. I'm not going to, put it back in my body. I'm not going to lick my finger and go, oh, that's mine. No, but, it's mine, it's all right. But the doorknob is not mine. The door handle.
Very good.
That's everybody else's. So now I come out of the bathroom, and I've got the same germs on my hands. Other people's germs on my hands. I go into the area where I work, figuring that things will have been, I don't know, sprayed down, radiated. Who the hell knows? I go back to my desk, and I'm not, I try to keep a tidy-ish space to work, but I have a lot of stuff that I work with every single day. A lot of labels and stickers and shit that I have to put on books. And I look at and there's dust on there that has been there for 3 months. Now, granted, there's civil rights stuff involved. I guess if they wanted to just clean everything off, take everything off the desk, sterilize, clean my desk, clean all the crap, or throw out all the crap on it and put new crap. This is not mine. It's office supplies that I use. But nothing. Nobody had touched anything to wipe surfaces down of where I work or where anybody else worked. Or several of us use a label maker, right? It's very important. We have to use a label. We're putting labels on books. Label maker wasn't maybe somebody wiped it down real quick, but then we're all using it. Nobody's wearing gloves. We're all touching this thing, making a label, pulling it out, touching the thing, touching the computer, where we type out the needs for the. Nobody's wiping down the keyboard every time because I understand you can't. I understand that's maybe the reason you close everything for weeks on end. It's just because there's certain stuff where you cannot every single time you use something wipe it down. If you're using it 50 times a day and somebody else is using it 30 times a day, it becomes ridiculous. You can't. But at the same time, it would have been nice when we were gone for 3 months if they had made some effort to clean in a deep sort of way. The only other explanation is that since the building was really empty for weeks on end, and then they got cleaners in, and then they started having some staff and personnel over the past 2 weeks. If these germs aren't going to last on surfaces for more than 72 hours at a pop. So you figure nobody's been there everything has died that was on there. There's no need to clean anything. If there's going to be germs, it's from the new stuff going on, nothing to do with what was before anyway. So why bother going through a whole cleaning and sterilization process? I don't know. I'm just like, I'm just so bummed by that. I thought for sure this public facility, you would have changed at the very least the public bathroom downstairs so that you don't have to touch the handle to get water. Wrong and wrong again. And then, of course, being pissed off of having to go back to work and work half days because this past week and next. I mean, it's kind of neat. It's okay. It's a very nice way to get reacclimated where you don't have to work an 8-fucking-hour day. It really makes a difference. You get out at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and you feel like, especially in summer, like, oh, okay, that was an interesting activity that I wasted my time with for a couple of hours, but hey, back to my life. I can do that. I would prefer to do that. That first 8-hour day is going to be a bitch on wheels, especially since nobody's using the break rooms anymore. We're all avoiding public areas because in public areas you have to wear a mask. It's a pain in the ass. So, that was my week. How was your week, ladies and gentlemen? How are you managing? How's it going? How are you feeling about all the COVID stuff right now? Are you feeling confident? I'm talking about my darling, adorable wife. How are you? I mean, you haven't been on a train, a plane. You haven't really been much out of either the backyard or the car in weeks.
I don't want to get COVID. I think people are...
Louder, yeah.
I think...
Yeah.
Kick your butt. I think people are just not acting thoughtfully. And it scares me that we're a society where people are so individual and they don't really have a lot of concern for other people. And this is a disease that we have to be mindful of our behaviors, because maybe the people who are, non-masked or being more carefree, maybe they feel they're not at risk, but we live with people, and many people have chronic conditions that put them at high risk. So I think it's a paradox? I mean, in this society, I think really doing the things we need to do collectively to treat this pandemic is not, it's difficult because of our mentality in the U.S.
I mean, every time I think it's a big nothing, every time I think, it's just a bad flu, you look at the numbers and 105,000 people have dropped dead from this thing. And I know, as I've said, one person, a critic friend of mine, died from an older man, a guy in his 70s.
Guy, his husband was a medical director of a skill care.
Yes, I know another guy who almost died.
Yes.
The press agent, Keith Sherman, was on this program a couple of weeks ago, and he got it. He got it bad, and his husband got it much worse. Right?
Yes.
It almost dropped dead. Yeah. So every time I think, just because it hasn't touched me, and I haven't seen ambulances going down my street taking COVID people away.
We have yesterday during the drive.
Yeah, I mean, God knows what those ambulances were for. We live in neighborhoods where all the Jews are 97 years old. So, the remote control on the TV's broken. Take me to Beth Israel.
Beth Israel.
So,
Maimonides.
Maimonides. Take me to Maimonides. Tapioca pudding. No, Talking pudding, take me to the hospital.
I don't think even Hatzola would do that.
Really? I don't know. Hatzola very...
No, they would not. They
no.
would not. They're tough. They're tough.
Since we're here, babe, why don't we get on with the show proper?
I was going to do the dictionary. I have the dictionary.
Oh, we got that too, and we'll also do Greeley Crimes of All Time.
Yeah.
So we got so much coming. We got Dave's Big Dictionary, Wretched Fun of Destiny.
I'm practicing the dictionary.
Colorado Limerick of the Damned, our Greeley Crimes of All Time, and Inside Broadway. So yeah, we've got so much to do, and our Today Yesterday quiz. So I'm going to hold this up and hand it back to you.
Give me the noisemakers too, Bubba.
As I mentioned before.
The dog is dreaming because his eyebrows are doing Groucho Marx.
Oh,
this is not the right one. I need ready.
Yeah, here's red.
Okay.
I'm ready with the red one.
He's doing this. Look.
Aw. Here's a dictionary that literally, I think, 1972 was when this came out. This was oh wow, the year I was born.
David,
1964.
The only words are ugh and nog.
Strangely enough, and shit. Because it knew I was being born, and I would love that word. So here's the deal. This dictionary, Joyce is going to thumb through it. You don't really thumb through a dictionary. If you think about it, you actually use your other finger there. But you will thumb through the dictionary and point to a word completely at random. And then later in the program, I'm going to try and do about 5 minutes or so extemporaneously about whatever that word brings to mind. I don't have much mind left. So Joyce is conjuring the spirits of creativity. Oh, wow, that was quick.
Oh, it's upside down. I got to do it again.
Oh, okay. I'll have to do the word in Hebrew then. Let's see.
Oxlip?
What?
The word is Oxlip, Oxlip, and it says a plant of the primrose family having yellow flowers. Oxlip. Oh, here.
You know, we're running kind of late on Dave's Gone By. We may not have time. Just, it occurs to me, we had this technical...
This isn't the right one. You don't have the right one for that.
I'm going to write this word out. Oxlip. Oh, my
you don't
God.
have the siren one. Where's the siren one?
If it's anywhere, it's there and no, I don't know. So if it's not in that drawer. Oh, good, okay.
I need the siren one. Someone's calling you.
Oxlip. All right, Oxlip. So at some point in the...
You could say this.
What?
We were watching Agatha Christie and we found out that someone was murdered by Oxlip.
Because it was a plant that someone poisonous... Oh, did it say it was poisonous?
No, but we can pretend.
We can pretend. Or, if you have cattle on a hill in a rainstorm, Oxlip.
Or maybe you get, a brazen bull and he gives you some oxlip, like lip talk.
Oh, oxlip. Yeah.
I need my tea.
I need my cyanide. All right, oxlip will be the word. Oh, sheeps. On our Today Yesterday quiz and in our Dave's Big Dictionary segment. That'll be coming up later. That's something to look forward to. What the hell am I going to do about that? I know what I'm going to do right now. I am going to go to our next segment. Now, Joyce and I lived in Greeley, Colorado for about 9 years and mostly loved it. Colorado is wonderful. But, well, where was I going with? I was about to do the intro for our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. That's coming up too, but no. We lived in Greeley, Colorado. And there is a newspaper. I'm good, thanks. In Greeley, there's a newspaper called the Greeley Tribune. And we show this cover every week because how can I not? The Tribune, where their front page at one point was a tree can kill you. Seriously. So this is an actual legitimate newspaper, but what's nice about them is that they do have a sense of humor and that they have a column in there every week called Cop Log. And I know this is a time fraught with police stuff, but this isn't so much about police. This is about phone calls that come into police departments from interesting people or about interesting people that they want the police to kind of check out. I mean, let's face it, if we defund police departments in America, who are you going to call? Who are you going to call if you have a cow pooping over a fence, which, by the way, was an actual story years ago in the Greeley Tribune. There were two neighbors were disputing a cow going up against a fence and pooping down the other neighbor's side of the fence. And that was a headline, Cow Poops on Fence. Yeah, it's Greeley, Colorado. So who are you going to call when something like that happens? So the cop log goes on. We call the segment Greeley Crimes in Old Times because there's another column in the Trib that's taken from newspaper postings 100 years ago in Weld County, Colorado. But that column has been furloughed because the guy who does that column is currently furloughed because the newspaper's got no money in the best of times. But we still will have our Greeley Crimes in Old Times, mainly on cop log, and oh my God, we have a wonderful elsewhere story that is part of that, I promise. Joyce is taking a picture of me while I play the intro to Greeley Crimes in Old Times. Na-da-da-ba! For the indeed we. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Greeley Crimes in Old Times here in the Daverhood. Oh, somebody, I keep getting different numbers on how many people are tuning into the video. Someone just tuned in for this. So yay, and welcome. Are you ready to get criminal, babe?
This is the one you used to like, wait.
Well, of course I like that one.
Wait, no, it was the vomit one, I think.
Well, that's a burpee one. There was another one that had a vomit sound. We have, the budget for this show does allow for really high-level sound effects. That's what I'll call you from now. I don't know what to call you when we do the show because I call you my darling and adorable wife. Can you be the Foley artist?
The what?
The Foley artist. That's the person who does this.
I don't have a Foley. I don't have a catheter.
Oh, God.
I need a Foley.
Here we go. Our first crime. Police responded to a fast food taco establishment.
Wait, hold on.
Is there any other kind of taco establishment?
I'm going to shut the window.
Yeah. Of course, the gardeners are working next door as I'm trying to do the show. Oh, well. That's life.
Here you go.
Thank you, babe. Police responded to this taco establishment on 11th Avenue in Colorado where a man peed on the door. And the caller said that this was a recurring issue. Certainly was an issue if you think about it, but
I guess, the chili relleno. I guess the hot tamale.
But why would there be, like, if you were in public and there wasn't a public toilet and you had to pee, I get you shouldn't do it, you should get fined. Maybe. But why to the same door?
Let me shut your window, honey. Is it shut?
It's shut, yeah.
Okay. I think that what happens is he heard your discussion last week about the toilets as well, and maybe he had to urinate and he didn't want to touch anything. Oh. So he just decided, I'm going to go on the door because I don't want to open anything with my hands.
That's right, it's safe.
And then he used Purell to clean his hands, and then he went home.
And I think he even used like a back scratcher to lower his zipper. So he didn't have to touch anything. He was absolutely the most COVID-friendly peer that, or maybe he just felt peer pressure. A little bit of comedy there. We're doing Greeley Crimes in Old Times, ladies and gentlemen. Who says news reporting does not have poetic imagery?
I don't know.
Oh, did you find the vomit noise?
I found a couple.
Okay, good.
I don't know. Wait, I don't know which one is the vomit. Hold on.
Because this is worth it. This will be worth some great noises here. Let me read them first, and then we'll go back and do each one separate. Let me read them all first, and then we'll do each one separately. A caller on 10th Street reported finding... Oh, what? Oh, there's a caller. Finding vomit, human waste, and... This is the best one. There we go. Good Lord. That has COVID. Okay. A caller reported finding vomit, human waste, and wheelchair tracks a day after having issues with a man in a wheelchair. No, I get how the guy in the wheelchair would be angry and maybe come by and leave some poop for someone, but you can't really vomit on command unless you take like Ipecac or you have really bad clams just before you get revenge on someone. It's like, it's like another recurring issue, but it's a lesson to all paraplegics, though, who want to get away with criminal activity. Make sure you get out of your wheelchair and clean up the evidence before you leave. The man left tracks. Get out of the wheelchair, clean them up, then wheel yourself away. I don't understand people sometimes. Thank you. A caller requested to speak with a watch commander when police.
What's a watch commander?
I guess it's like a bigger than a supervisor. When police contacted the caller, she said she was too busy because, quote, she was getting her nails done. First of all, I don't know how people were getting their nails done like a month ago when this happened.
Give me a second.
Yeah. Is there a nail painting noise?
Here.
Yeah, that's true. It is like when Jewish American princesses call police, like either come right now, or can you maybe come after 4?
Your accents are crazy.
Police responded. Now this is not an 8th and 8th story, but it is a 7th and 8th story. 7th Street and 8th Avenue in Greeley, Colorado, for a man standing on a statue, touching it, and talking to it.
What's wrong with that?
Standing on the statue,
Yeah.
touching it, and having a conversation
That's
with
good.
it. I will say that Statue of Liberty replica downtown is very hot. So
Yeah, don't they say talk to plants? Why not talk to statues? I think that's nice.
okay, and nothing illegal about it, but if
He
you,
wasn't fornicating with it.
as far as we know, no.
Maybe it was a first date.
It'd be weird if he was fornicating with it and it wasn't like a woman's statue. It was one of those avant-garde statues.
Like the metal statue.
Like one of those Alexander Calder things, and it just spins around, and some guy's trying to fuck with it. It's like, yeah, no, oh god, the propeller thing. Yeah. Anywho,
Oh my lord.
police responded to a mobile home park, and these are upwardly mobile people because I said mobile instead of mobile. A mobile home park on 35th Avenue where a woman reported a man outside her home saying someone was trying to kill him. He said someone came into his house from under the floor. And then he added that he had not slept in 2 days. Yeah. Wow, I guess he has cat scratch fever. Something like that. Now, here's we promised you this. On Greeley Crimes at All Times, we usually take one story from not Greeley or Weld County, Colorado. We go further afield to anywhere on the planet that has a strange piece of news worth sharing. And I credit my Foley artist, Joyce, for coming up with this one. This is magnificent. One of the funniest things. I just love this. Dateline Belgium. And she'll be partial to this also because she watches so much of the Hercule Poirot, Agatha Christie things. Which, of course, he's Belgique. So this comes out of Food and Wine magazine, but it's been picked up elsewhere. It's one of the oldest pranks in the book. Ordering an unwanted pizza to someone's house. It even happened once to the Queen of England.
Really?
Apparently.
How do you order to the Buckingham Palace?
I guess you go, the palace guard, you come up to them and you
like
sign for
Domino
them.
stops and delivers. The
Yeah.
guard says it's 51 minutes, so it's free. I mean,
But the royal family, they get theirs with extra gold. They have to get a gold flake on top of their slices. But at what point does this classic gag stop being funny?
Yeah.
Well, it did for a man in Belgium who has been coping with this, wait for it, for 9 years.
Oh my god.
Jean van Landegem has become a global phenomenon after a website shared his horror story. It started 9 years ago, Van Landeghem said. Suddenly, a pizza man handed me a whole load of pizzas, but I hadn't ordered anything. The pizzas, or occasionally kebabs,
At least they alter, yeah.
that's true, kept coming. And for a while he thought it was a mix-up. Some pizza lover was getting his address
like on an app
wrong.
or something. Yeah, I could see that.
But it went on so long that Van Landeghem realized it had to be a malicious act. And this is magnificent. He says, quote, "I can't sleep anymore. I start shaking every time. I start shaking every time I hear a scooter on the street. I dread that someone will come to drop off hot pizzas yet another time." Oh, he said, weekdays, weekends, anytime of day. He says he's even gotten them an order at 2 a.m.
Oh no! Can't he just put a note on his door and saying I'm being pranked and not deliver food to me?
No, as a silver lining, the pranks don't cost him anything because he refuses delivery, but it does cost the restaurants. They have to put they make these things.
Why don't they know that address?
Yeah,
you know?
I don't know. This is at one point in January of 2019.
Oh no! What?
10 different deliveries showed up at his door. One of them for 14.
Pizzas? What?
Yeah, one of those orders of the 10 people who showed up at his door were for 14 pizzas.
Pizza party.
I did the math, said Van Landeghem. They would have cost $510.
Oh my! For 14 pizzas?
10? Yeah, think about it. Pizza we had yesterday was like $25 because we have all that stuff on it.
Wow.
Yeah. Van Landeghem then added, quote, "A friend of mine, this is...
Oh no.
You think this story is great now. A friend of mine who lives about 17 miles away is going through the exact same thing I am.
Come on.
She has been receiving pizzas she has not ordered for 9 years.
But David, I think somebody they both know does not like them, wouldn't you say?
Well, they're saying perhaps the prankster is a mutual acquaintance.
Yes.
Um,
Don't they have police? I mean, where's Perqueltero?
Sometimes we both get them on the same day. And when that happens, we warn each other to expect a delivery. It's like a Twilight Zone episode. This is fantastic. And before you start questioning whether this is a hoax or wondering why pizza places haven't flagged his address, he has receipts. This is, he has all the things of this happening. I don't know how he'd have receipts if he refuses delivery, but still.
I don't know. What do they do with all that extra food? I hope they donate it or somebody eats it.
But this is fantastic also. His response to this is so non-American, so European. Van Landeghem, he has called the police.
Yeah.
And he says, quote, "When I find out whoever has been bothering me for the past 9 years, it will not be their best day."
Whoa! Whoa!
Not I'm gonna kill him. Not I'm gonna be waiting with a rifle. No, it will not be their best day.
David, I hate to say it, but most of the time, if these two people are getting harassed and doing that, I guarantee you that they know who it is, that they could figure out who it is. If they sat with the police and did some kind of investigation, they could look and see who they both share relationships with, and they must have really pissed somebody off.
It's like old-fashioned like when you get these phone calls.
So we did it when we went to we went to Utah and to we went to something. It was like the Tabernacle, and the Mormons asked for your name and phone number, and you put a friend's name. Remember? Yeah,
it's true.
And they were called for years, David.
Yeah.
They were called for years.
We wanted to get, for some terrible reason, we wanted to get back at former friends of ours, and we put name and address and all these solicitors from the Mormon Church. Like, oh, here, some brochures. Do you have any retreats? Yeah, that was evil. But how come nobody sends me free pizzas? I would send them to family.
But you have to pay for them. If you receive it, you pay.
Oh.
So it's not like no one's paying for it.
Yeah.
But this is what I don't understand personally.
Yeah.
Most pizza places now, like when I used to have pizza every Friday with a really good friend back in Colorado, And guess what? The pizza places, you paid ahead. You ordered online, you paid ahead, you gave your instructions, and boom.
Yeah, they look at your phone number.
Yes.
And they not only know who you, they kind of figure out, oh, you ordered this last time. Do you want it the same
Or
way?
they'd say, or they have a little cheat sheet that says if somebody calls from, 1313 Mockingbird Lane, do not deliver pizza there. It's a hoax.
One
time they called us back. I think they're having some trouble, and they said, "Oh, we're just confirming."
Yeah. Oh, really? You think that? Well.
Yeah.
Wow. So anyway, is that quite beautiful? That is the story of the Belgian man receiving unwanted pizza deliveries, not for a week, not for just a year, but always.
It's almost a decade of pizza delivery.
We make God forbid, terrible thing, but he dies, and at the funeral.
I'm sure they would.
They deliver 15 pizzas to the funeral.
Yeah, or the wreath is a pizza. I mean, you know what makes me sad? It's like pizza's a lot. So I ate pizza a lot.
Everybody eats pizza a lot.
We lived in an Italian neighborhood, ethnically diverse.
Yeah.
And my mother would take me for pizza. And pizza is an enjoyable food.
Yeah.
So could you imagine being so traumatized by pizza that he probably can't even enjoy it? I'm sure when he goes, let's say, he goes to his, friend's kid's party and it's a pizza party, he must go through, PTSD when he sees the pizza boxes come in.
It's true, and I think of it like the people who work in ice cream parlors. Do they get just so sick of... I mean, what's better than ice cream? And yet you're there 8 hours a day, shifts and scooping, and it's cold, and it gets, you have to clean constantly, deal with customers. Do you really go home and then want a pint of binge? You're just like, no. No, you want whatever the opposite of pizza is. You want Brussels sprouts at that moment. Not pizza, ice cream is. Brussels sprouts. That's what you want at that moment.
I feel sad for him. Maybe we should send him a pizza.
And scene. Oh, fantastic.
David, what about if we start sending him things from cattle?
Oh, not yet. I'm not ready for that.
Okay.
I'm in no way am I ready to do that. Let's finish up Greeley Crimes and Old Times. Then we'll get to it because I've got Inside Broadway. I'm going to talk about the world at large and at small. We've got our limerick. We've got our pun. I thought I wouldn't be able to fill 3 hours on the program today. Because there's no guest and I didn't really prepare a lot of stuff. Go figure. Anyway, and we have our Today Yesterday quiz. Don't forget that.
Let's do really quick Old Times and then the quiz, and then I'm going to give you your...
you want to do the quiz now, and then I'll do the other stuff?
Crimes and Old Times and then the quiz, if you could.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. Cause I also Untitled Chapter here, so that's great.
Shoot.
What, babe? Anyway, last crime from Greeley Crimes and Old Times. I would like to say that good porches make good neighbors.
Okay.
A caller in a condo wanted to know whether it was a violation.
Wait.
What?
The common name Oxlip is from ox and slip, may refer to the fact that oxlips and cowslips are often found in boggy pastures used by cattle.
Ah, okay. So it's related to oxen using that field or that farm. Thank you. Yeah, that came from Cynthia. Thank you so much. So, all right. I hope that helps. I really hope that helps me find something to talk about. So, a caller...
you just got a thumbs up from Ezra.
Hey, Ezra.
Tomorrow?
Okay. Thank you, Ezra. A caller in a condo wanted to know whether it was a violation for her upstairs neighbors to let their animals relieve themselves on the porch above the caller, which, of course, leaked onto the caller's porch. You're in the money. Oh. And that would be, could you imagine sitting there having your morning espresso?
Yeah.
It's raining.
Amen. It's raining, man. I mean, poop, hallelujah. It's raining, poop.
Good. What do you do about? I guess you put that wee pads, right?
I will tell you, living in a condo. My friend back in Colorado said, and I love this woman. She's awesome, and she was saying that above her, it was college-age kids, and it was when COVID was rampant in Colorado, as it was. And she said they had a party with no masks, and they were thumping and making noise. When you have upstairs neighbors, it's a problem.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
And my friend in grad school. His wife joined him, and they lived in Astoria, and she wore high heels, and she wasn't clomping around, but she was walking, and the landlord lived downstairs, and it was the biggest like point of like contention of like, are you, you're walking too loud, and I'm like, I mean, that's tough.
Oh, but also there were I don't know which friend this was.
Yeah.
But he was having annoyances with his neighbors downstairs.
Oh no.
So he had a bowling ball.
Oh.
I don't remember who this was, honestly. I don't.
Was it the one who put shrimp in an air vent?
I think it's a different person.
Okay.
That was great too.
Yeah, that was horrible.
But he would hear the neighbors would be really annoying and terrible. So every once in a while, just completely at random, he'd take out his 12-pound bowling ball and go boom. Make him feel like a body was dropping on the
floor. I have a
friend
who he's a marathoner and he wants to exercise at home.
Oh yeah.
And he lives in an apartment building. And he bought a elliptical, or he bought like a treadmill, and he can't do it because the sound has annoyed neighbors under every room he puts it in.
God, yeah.
So he's like moving it, and they're like,
Another friend of mine from years back, guy named Bob, his neighbors were annoying and loud and crazy. He lived for his early versions of noise machines. It was like a wind machine.
Oh yeah, like a white noise.
Yeah. He said it was the thing that saved his life. It kept him from going crazy.
Some people use fans.
Yeah. Well, I have fans who are watching this program right now. That was a very cool joke. Yeah. I guess I blew that segment. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, that was Greeley Crimes and Old Times.
Mr. Horace Greeley was no fool. I'm sure that you'll agree with me that Greeley was no fool.
But he is getting at his death. Mr. Greeley was no fool.
Yippee-yi, 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 yi-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi.
Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Dave's Gone By, live on this Saturday, June 13th. It is our 750th episode of the program. We have so much more to do. We're going to go inside Broadway quite briefly in a little while. We'll also have our limerick. We'll also have our wretched pun, our dictionary about Oxlip, Gewalt, and what else? And if I have time, I'm also going to talk just a bit about the universe that we're living in at the moment. But it's time, though, since this is June 13th, and there have been so many June 13ths before this one, why don't we go back in time and you answer some questions about June 13th in history? Yes, there is an answer to these questions. So Cynthia and Jeff, if you're there, if you're able to play along, I might be able to read your comments. I'm going to try. Well, it's showing me somebody. Oh, I got to scroll that down. Cool. So here's the deal. I'm going to ask these questions. My cousins Cynthia and Jeff are playing along live, I'm hoping, and they're going to type in their guesses to the answers to these questions. They tend to be first. You kind of not only want to answer the question for yourself, but see if you can beat them to the answer. Because about 70-80% of the time they get it right. They don't always. So you might say, hey, wait a minute. That isn't the answer.
Cynthia, Sif said they're here.
Oh, they're fantastic. Mm-hmm. Sif. Hello, Sif. So I see it. Great. So we're going to ask a couple of questions all about the date, June 13th in history. We call it our Today Yesterday quiz. Let me get... our $1 million prop. Look at this. We have the designers at ABC, CBS, and NBC work on this. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful?
It's a Trader Joe's cast-off of free stickers. Open it up and see what's in it.
You think that? No, I don't want to break the bond. Oh, I think we did already. No, I don't. There's nothing in there. It's an empty envelope.
Okay.
Yeah. See? And yes, Joyce gave the game away. It is not a $1 million prop. It is an envelope. What? How long ago was this? Must have been a year or two ago.
I think it was the 70s, babe.
Damn. All right, let's get to our Today Yesterday quiz. We shall begin in 1774. June 13th, 1774. That was a good day for Rhode Island because they were the first colony to do this.
Oh, I know.
It's multiple choice.
Clog dancing?
How did you know? That's why it's Clog Dancing Day in Rhode Island. They have a state holiday there. No. What did they do? I'll give you the multiple choice answers here. A, they refused to pay taxes to the English crown. B, they established formal talks with the local native tribes.
Ooh.
C, they stopped the importation of slaves. Or D, they opened a live theater for American plays.
I hope it's the importation of slaves.
Well, that's what you hope for, but what are you voting for?
I don't know.
I'll read them again. So on this date in 1774, Rhode Island did this important thing. Did they refuse to pay taxes to the English crown? Did they establish formal
Isn't
talks
English crown a
with
beer?
the Royal Crown is a cola, so and I don't know how that bubbled up. But let's see. Did they stop paying taxes? They established formal talks with the local native tribes. They stopped the importation of slaves, or did they open a live theater specifically for plays written in America, in the colonies? Okay, so I'm going to wait for Cynthia and Jeff, and I'll do a little bit of our question music. Oh, yeah, you bet. Okay,
Oh, look how
we'll give it a few seconds. Oh, that's good. Joyce is taking, that's enough of it. Pictures. She's not only my Foley artist, she's my official photographer.
I love this one.
And my COVID catcher when I sneeze. Oh, that's good. Even though it's backlit, that looks really nice. All right, well, I'm going to give it just a few more seconds. So, Sif. Let's see. I know we're on delay.
You got numero uno. Refuse to pay taxes?
Okay, so that is an answer. That's funny. How come you see that and I'm not seeing it here? Or I've got to scroll. I'm sorry. I have to. It won't scroll down automatically.
You just keep talking. Don't pose.
Oh, really? I'll be normal. So, hon, which you can play too. Which of these do you think happened in 1774 on June 13th?
It's making you so dark, buddy.
I don't know, because it's backlit, so you got the window open here. If the shade were down, it would be better. So, do you want to take a stab or not? I know what you said.
I think it's the slavery one. That's what I think.
Well, Sif says that it's number one, that Rhode Island stopped paying taxes to the crown. Joyce says she hopes and thinks that it's that they stopped the importation of slaves. And the answer is, well, I guess we have to give my Foley artist a raise. Because, ladies and gentlemen, Joyce was correct. On this date, Rhode Island decided, and by the way, at the time, it was interesting, Rhode Island had twice as many slaves as any of the other colonies.
Why do you think? Because of its location? I mean, what made it?
I guess it's a port, right? And easy to get to.
It so, yeah.
I'm good. And immediately everybody will stop. Right? It's because they had a Popeye's fried chicken franchise already there. See, I can make racist jokes because I'll be talking about all of this later on anyway. But yeah, well done. It was letter C. 1893 is the year. June 13th, the date. The 24th president of the United States, the one who came after Harrison and before McKinley, had a cancerous part of his jaw surgically removed.
David.
Okay. Who was this president? And I will offer a hint. This New Jersey-born president was on the 12-cent stamp. Okay.
Oh, God.
So on this date in history...
Was it Governor Christie?
No. He hasn't had any part of his stuff removed. He's still got all the weight on there. But this president, our 24th, had surgery to remove a big old lump of cancer from his jaw. Now, this is the 24th president, which means he came before Harrison. He came after Harrison, before McKinley. And for those of you who've been alive long enough to be putting these on envelopes, he was on the 12-cent stamp. And there's got to be one or two people out there watching the show who memorized all the presidents in order. Remember last time I was talking about the uselessness
Just went blank. Hold on.
The uselessness of having to memorize state capitals when you're a child and in school.
Oh, she said Jeff was wrong on this one. They abolished slavery in 1652. That was Rhode Island.
Yeah.
What about question 2, Cynthia?
Yes, if we need an answer. And the answer from Cynthia
she
and
said Cleveland.
Yeah, which is, and Hun, do you want to take a stab on this one?
Nope, you tell me.
Well, the answer is... Oh, wait a minute. I'll give you... I forgot this was going to be a multiple choice. Was it James Garfield, Grover Cleveland, William Howard Taft, or Chester A. Arthur? Garfield, Cleveland, Taft, or Arthur? Do you want to try, or you have no...
I'll say Taft, just because they said something different.
Well, now you guys are 50-50. Well done, Sif, because it was letter B, Grover Cleveland. And what's kind of interesting is, even though the operation was a success, Grover Cleveland lived another 15 years beyond having that cancer removed. We're talking back in 1893 they were doing this. But as they did in those days, they actually kept the news under wraps. People didn't know he had this surgery until 9 years after he was dead.
Wow.
Like nobody knew FDR was in a wheelchair until long after the war. Yeah.
People I think years ago, like even actresses and stuff, the images of people were more controlled, right? We didn't have social media. People were more, were definitely more controlled. It's interesting.
Yeah. Did you know that Donald Trump has a comb over?
No.
It's very well done. It's very well protected.
Next, you're gonna tell me that his skin color is real, not real.
As far as everything else I've seen, it must be. No, anyway,
no fake news, Bella.
So you guys are both 1 for 2. You're doing 50-50 so far. Let's have some more questions in our yesterday quiz. Happy birthday.
Put your head down,
to this English actor.
Okay.
I'm going to pose here. Strike a pose. Happy birthday to this English actor, best known for playing Alex in A Clockwork Orange.
These are unusual.
And for starring in a trilogy of films by Lindsay Anderson. Can you name him?
Say it again.
Happy birthday to this English actor.
Happy birthday to you.
English actor. Has done a ton of things, but he's still best known for playing Alex in A Clockwork Orange, the Kubrick film, and starring in a trilogy of movies by Lindsay Anderson. Can you name this actor? So, or I guess for Clockwork Orange, we should do like a little bit of Beethoven.
That's beautiful, honey.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I practiced that all night.
Yeah. Next year we'll give you a recorder.
I'm recording this already.
What's your speed?
I'm not on speed. I'm on meth. You know that.
Oh, your teeth are too good.
Mm.
Tiger King.
Okay, we're oh. We're waiting on Sif for an answer on this one. Hun, do you have an answer? Do you want to? I'll throw this one to you.
Give it again.
One last time. English actor, best known for playing Alex in A Clockwork Orange and starring in movies. There we go. Do you want to take a stab? Because we have an answer from Sif.
I trust them. They're smarter than me. I defer to my...
Well, do you agree with them? Do you agree with their answer?
Yes.
You were wise to agree. It was, in fact, Malcolm McDowell. No relation, by the way, to Roddy McDowell, whom you saw in Columbo and Planet of the Apes. They're not related at all. They spell their last names differently.
Aren't we all related from the same common ancestors? So
the same ape?
They could do the 23andMe and see.
You never know.
We don't know.
And by the way, the names of those Lindsay Anderson films were If, Oh Lucky Man, and 1982's Britannia Hospital. So yes, well done, Malcolm McDowell. And Time After Time, which was a lovely film. 1962 is the year. Happy Brat Pack birthday to this actress known for The Breakfast Club, Made to Order, and Short Circuit.
Oh, I know who that is.
Okay.
David. Yay.
So Joyce got that one really, really quick. Let's see how fast it takes with our tape delay and everything.
Don't you
Let's see how long it takes for Sif to respond. Happy Brat Pack birthday to the actress known for The Breakfast Club, Made to Order, and Short Circuit. Who is this person? And while we're waiting for a reply, I want to remind you that this program is partially brought to you by the folks at Hewlett Minuteman Press, the copy kings of Broadway in Hewlett, Long Island.
They never closed, right?
They never did. Well, they were an essential service.
Copying and FedEx.
Yeah.
Right?
So the Torong family owns the Minuteman franchise right in the heart of Hewlett, Long Island. They do copying, printing, binding, and I'll betcha they're doing further expanded hours now that we're in phase 2. So anything that you want to do for your company, Minuteman is there for you. And I'll tell you what's there for us now. It's an answer from Sif on our question, the Brat Pack actress of Made to Order and Short Circuit. Indeed, and Joyce got it right. She got it in a second. Ali Sheedy, of course. Happy birthday to her, born in 1962. So I guess that would make her 59. Oh my God. Wow. Time flies. Speaking of birthdays, happy birthday to this folktronic singer-songwriter, born in 1968 on June 13th. Happy birthday to him. His best-known tunes include Please Forgive Me, This Year's Love, and Babylon. Can you name him? Okay. Born in 1968 in the UK, a folktronic singer-songwriter, does kind of folky pop with a little bit of electronica thrown in. Best-known tunes include Please Forgive Me, This Year's Love, and most popular song, Babylon. Can you name him? And while they're thinking, I will go back to our promo for Hewlett Minuteman Press, the Copy Kings. Their number is 516-569-5577, area code 516-569-5577. And if you tell them Dave sent you, you get 10% off any job, big or small. So you come in there, you want to just do black and white copies of a couple of pages, they can do it. You need color copies. You need things that are laminated. You want to get your company's logo on or silk screened on some kind of item, be it clothing or sporting goods or mugs or pen and pencil sets. Hewlett Minuteman Press can help you do it. So as I said, I'm sure they're closed today, but back on Monday, Hewlett Minuteman Press, 516-569-5577. They are the Copy Kings. Well, I'm waiting on an answer from Sif, and I can't really wait that much longer.
Wait a second. Sheedy.
No, that was the previous.
Oh, what happened? Hold on.
Yeah. Actually, I have sort of a time limit on this. I should get like one of the egg timers from downstairs, so that
or just do your clanging on your clangy.
Yeah.
Do your clanging.
Oh, yeah.
You lost your one clanger. Look.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we have a no idea on this one. Do you want to try?
Say it again.
The singer-songwriter, born today, English, right? Here's a hint. All the songs that I mentioned, Please Forgive Me, This Year's Love, and Babylon, were all of those were on his 4th album, huge seller called White Ladder.
Tom Jones.
No.
It's not on your...
Nope, wasn't Tom Jones. I'll give you a hint. He has a colorful name, except it's more of an absence of colorful name, sort of.
Oh, Barry White?
Very good, but no. No, it wasn't Barry White. This is more recent.
Jack Black?
No. Near absence of color. Gloomy. What?
Cream? Gray? I don't know. Gray Gardens? Addison Gray? Graves' disease?
Ew. No.
I don't know.
No, the answer is David Gray.
Oh.
David Gray. And you know Babylon.
I would love to pull some of that stuff. You're shedding. Look, you're moving so much. You're shedding parts all over the floor.
That's why I had a pillowcase over this pillow. Anyway.
You know what I want to say to you?
Next question. We go 1 year later to 1969 for our next question in the Today Yesterday quiz. After 3 years with John Mayall's Blues Breakers, this guitarist left and officially joined another band, a little outfit called the Rolling Stones,
Whoa.
with whom he stayed until 1974. Who is this great jazzy and melodic musician? So on this date in 1969, after leaving John Mayall's Blues Breakers, this exceptional guitarist joined the Rolling Stones officially. Who is this musician? Keith
Richards?
Well, Keith was there from the beginning, as was Mick. And then, of course, in the beginning, they had Brian Jones. There were other multi-instrumentalists, but Brian Jones was so blitzed out on drugs that they threw him out of the band, and then he died. They needed somebody in there. Whom did they get?
Was it Barry Manilow?
Wasn't. He was already so successful that they asked him if he didn't want to do it.
Slash?
It was not Shubie Taylor. It was not Slash. Nope. Yeah, we're all back in era. We're talking 1969 to 1970.
Jimi Hendrix.
No, they didn't. No. But his guitar playing, not in a league with Hendrix, but pretty magnificent. Whoa! We have an answer. Joyce, do you want to take a stab?
No, I don't know. I'm going to go with them.
Well, Sif has responded to this question. Who essentially replaced Brian Jones in the Rolling Stones, and that is correct. The answer is Mick Taylor. Fabulous guitarist. You hear him a bit on Let It Bleed, all over Sticky Fingers and then Exile on Main Street, the 2 or 3 greatest albums that the Rolling Stones ever did, and some of the greatest albums in absolute history. And of course, Mick Taylor left the band in 1974 for a variety of reasons. First of all, he was kind of pissed off because he was co-writing songs with Mick Jagger and not getting credit for them. So it was costing him a few $1 million.
Isn't that illegal?
Well, they didn't put his name on the credits. So he sort of figured, well, he's a guitarist and he's contributing a lick. And he's saying, no, these songs would not have existed without me. And the songs we're talking about are things like Sway and Moonlight Mile Until the Next Time We Say Goodbye. I mean, not singles perhaps, but some of the greatest songs the Stones ever did. Also, he really didn't get along all that well with Keith. He wasn't a personable guy. He just wanted to play his guitar on stage. He had no flash.
I want to read a post that one of your friends wrote called Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
She said, this isn't for another case. Teddy is a farter. I love him so much and I don't even care. He's cute with his little stub tail and his toot-toots. It's like when you have a baby and they poop. It's so lovely and cute. No, not really that much.
Why the fuck? Why is this being posted? Or nothing to do with anything?
I'm related to your stuff, but I ran across it.
Okay. All right.
That's
so a farting cat for some. But anyway, Mick Taylor, who is, by the way, still alive and well, and one of the nice things, I think. Oh, and by the way, he one of the other reasons he left the Stones was the whole culture was so insane that the drug use they were all doing, he ended up becoming a drug addict. And had a kick, and he figured he was married, he had a kid, he had to get out of the Rolling Stones lifestyle to save his own life and to save his family. So he did. And, now your rank and file may not have heard of Mick Taylor, one of the greatest guitarists rock and roll has ever known. But it was nice that when the Stones toured, about a decade ago, I guess it was, they invited him back. He came on, he toured with them, would have loved to have heard the music in those shows. But also, I'm sure he made a very nice paycheck during that concert series. So it all worked out, I guess, pretty well in the end. We're in our Today-Yesterday quiz here on Dave's Gone By. This might be a little tough for oldsters like me, but see how well you do. The year 1970. Happy birthday to this lead singer-songwriter and guitarist of the band Weezer. What song is that? I don't know Weezer at all.
I don't know either.
Oh, okay.
Don't say that she loved me, but
is that a Weezer song? I really don't know them.
Yeah, I just don't know the words.
Well, happy birthday to the lead singer and guitarist of Weezer. Okay, you might not know his name from Adam. It's not Adam. But his first name is the last name of a famous comedian. And his last name is the same as a well-known governor. Go.
Oh my God, I don't know that.
Well, puzzle it out.
I can't do it. I can't do smart things.
Yeah, think about
It's
it.
a
Think about it.
weekend.
So it's his first name is the last name of a comedian, one of the most famous of all,
Rivers.
and his last name
Phoenix.
is the name of a governor.
River Christie.
No,
River de Blasio.
no. Well, he's a mayor.
River Koch.
Oh no! What a horrible name for a. Very good. Between the two of you, you got it. Between Cynthia and
Como Rivers.
Rivers Cuomo.
Oh,
That's the
you
guy's
should've said
name.
Your mom's boyfriend. I would have got it.
Oh well, yeah. Rivers Cuomo is the lead singer, songwriter, and guitarist for Weezer. I mean, if I just asked that question, nobody would get it. But if I throw in the clue, well done, Sif. Moving on to our next quiz question. We go to 1977 is the year. 3 days after escaping from Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary in Petros, Tennessee, this assassin was recaptured and had 1 extra year added to his 99-year sentence, of which he had already served 10. Who was he? Okay, it's a little complicated question, but there's all sorts of clues salted into it. 3 days after he escaped from Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary in Tennessee, this assassin was recaptured, and they added an extra year to his 99-year sentence, which meant he had only 89 years to go. Oh my gosh, that was quick. We have an answer from Sif. And they are indeed correct. It was James Earl Ray, the killer of Martin Luther King. Or says I don't think he ever actually pleaded guilty to it, but every time he went on trying to prove his innocence, he'd go on talk shows and then take lie detector things and have mock trials and things. He always lost. It always came down to, no, you did it. So, well done. Good job, Sif, on that answer. We got 2 more questions in our yesterday quiz for this June 13th. 1997 is the year. Speaking of killers, this one received a death sentence today for causing the deaths of 8 federal officers. Now, since he was convicted and sentenced, prosecutors didn't even bother trying him for the 160 other people who died. Who's the bad guy? Okay, remember the year. This is a big clue. 1997. Okay. Someone received a death sentence today for causing the deaths of 8 federal officers, and because he got the death penalty, because it was all shut tight and drawn, they didn't even bother trying to charge him or convict him or to trying him for the 160 other people for whom he was responsible for the deaths. Wow, I gotta work the grammar out on that.
Is it Bernie Madoff?
Wasn't Madoff. This is death. Madoff never killed anybody. Also rolled back like 10 to 20 more years. 1997. Don't look at the screen. Oh, you can say it. Don't look. You looked.
Oh, I didn't think that. I don't think that.
Oh, who were you thinking?
I was thinking of like Son of Sam or
Son of Sam would have been a good guess.
like a murderer.
Well, he was. In a way, he was the Oklahoma City bomber, Timothy McVeigh. He bombed the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City. All right, well done. Cynthia and Jeff I don't know what their scores are so far, but I think they battled back after starting slowly to something like 50-50 or even better. So here we go. This is the last one, the rubber match, if you will. And I know you will. 2008 is the year. Released today was the song Viva la Vida, which would hit #1 on both the UK charts and on Billboard's Hot 100. Name the band who appeared on the 2016 Super Bowl halftime show. Who are they? Okay, so on this date back in 2008, 12 years ago, amazing how time just rolls on some of these things. 2008, a band released a song Viva la Vida, and it was huge. It became, it was #1 on charts in the UK and also
wants
Billboard.
you to know that the last one was her.
Oh, good. Well,
Not Jeff. She would like
good.
to differentiate.
Of course, very important
who
there.
actually got the correct answer.
So this band that appeared on the 2016 Super Bowl, what are they? And I'll wait another moment. Then I do have a hint. But the hint will probably give it away.
Is it Ricky Martin?
Not Ricky Martin. No, it's a band.
La Vida Loca?
No, this is not La Vida Loca. This is Viva la Vida. Was the name of the song. Here's the hint. Other songs by this band include Yellow,
Stinky Cheese,
and Fix You. Now you know that one.
Oh my God.
Yep, we all know Fix You because we watched that documentary about the old people in the choir. Who's the band?
I don't remember.
Wait, Sif said that's what I thought, but you didn't give me an answer. Do you want to try again? It's funny, actually, when you said the guess you had before,
yeah,
you were half right in a way.
Give me a thing again.
Well, this band, their songs include Viva la Vida, Yellow, and Fix You.
It's like not Coldplay, but it's something like.
Are you sure? Are you absolutely sure it's not Coldplay?
Oh yes.
It's Coldplay.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Yes, Coldplay was the band. When you said Ricky Martin, I didn't think in terms because the lead singer is Chris Martin.
David,
so,
I'm honest to God, I must have played that video for like thousands of students. So if I don't know it, I should. If you folks watching at home don't know it, there is Young at Heart.
A documentary called Young at Heart. Marvelous little film, which is all about this choir guy, this choir master, who has a group of septuagenarians and octogenarians who go.
Was an exotic dancer from Britain.
Oh, wow, I remember that. Yeah,
that's great. Yeah.
And what they do is they're a real, absolute, legitimate choir that do popular songs. They don't go out there. They're not doing, Louis Armstrong songs. They're not doing Sinatra.
Patronistic, ageist music.
Great American Songbook stuff. They're not doing even Elvis. They're doing modern rock tunes.
And tongue in cheek, like I want to be sedated.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And one of the most important parts of the film, toward the end of the film, is Fix You was going to be a duet for this guy who's on this oxygen pump and this other fella. And in the middle, I don't want to give it away, but in the middle of the film, the other guy dies. And now it's a question of, is he going to do the song or is he going to do the song alone?
Because he's not well, too, but he has a beautiful, what would you say, vibrato?
He has a good bass voice. But
it's all
a basso
in his chest.
almost.
It's all in his chest.
Yeah, very resonant voice. So he does this lovely song by himself. And it's very sad. It's also a little bit weirdly funny because he's singing it, but you also hear his oxygen tank.
That's what I love. That's what I love, right? It's like, but it's more emotional because it's like, this is a sick man. He's not well. Yeah. And then, he wasn't going to go on. His wife didn't encourage him. Then they both agreed to go on. And then he sings it. He sings it in memory of his friend, and then the friend's family's in the audience.
Oh, right.
And they said that when the guy was dying, because this guy like beat death like 3 or 4 times.
Yes.
And every time that he was in a coma or in the hospital, he would sing the songs from the group. And they put the poster, and the wife said one of the last things he did was try to sing the song because he didn't want to let the other guy down. He wanted to. Man. They were friends, so it was beautiful.
Yeah.
I thought
it's a wonderful film. I recommend it to everybody. It's called Young at Heart, if you can find it.
With the at sign. The at.
Oh, yeah, Young, like at symbol Heart. If you can find it on Netflix or Hulu or Amazon, I don't know where the hell all these films, maybe IndieWire has it or places like that. But anyway, how did you all do on our yesterday quiz today, June 13th, 2020, where we are doing the 750th episode of the Dave's Gone By Facebook-yo, Podcast-yo, Program-yo of the stream. Because
it feels about 7:30.
Well, but what's really interesting, it seems like a lot of shows. It's a lot of shows. But we've been doing this since 2002. That's 17 and a half years. And it's amazing when I go back and I clean up the archives and I get the archives working and just get the photos looking nice, that There were periods when there was a point I took off a half a year.
Really?
Around the time when we were moving from New York to college.
From the basement of the house
on
the 19th,
yeah.
Right?
And even then, there was a point when I was doing one a month for a while, and then I took a 2-month break. So if I hadn't taken all those breaks and taken the occasional vacation week, I would be well over 800. Or maybe I'd be around 800. But we do have 750 of these that you can watch at davesgoneby.com. Remember that you can also get in touch with me, davesgoneby@AOL.com, and you can check my Twitter feed, Radio Dave 2. That's Radio Dave and the number 2. So, thanks for playing along. Sif got 7 for 10, not too shabby. I've been doing these theater quizzes put up by Stuart Brown. I think it's Stuart. Forgive me if I'm getting his name wrong, but he does soundsofbroadway.com. He was a guest on the show a few months ago, and he has a 24-hour show tune channel that you can tune in and listen just to theater music. It's online at soundsofbroadway.com. It's either sound, singular, or sounds. Let me see if I've written it down so I can get it right for all you nice folks out there. No, well, either check them both out. Sounds of Broadway or soundofbroadway.com. And he also has, if subscribers are into it, he sends a 12-question quiz every week. And the first one I got like 100 on. And then week after week, I'm getting worse and worse. And I think I got like 60% this past week of all these questions about Cole Porter. But anyway, don't forget. So he did 70%, did Cynthia and Jeff. That is not bad. Maybe you can go for 80%.
So Richard Skipper sent you something from Broadway World about Linda Koutrakis?
Oh, yeah. What about her? She's a singer, cabaret singer.
And they have
Lena Koutrakis, yeah.
Yeah, that's from Broadway World that you might be interested in.
Oh, okay. Ooh.
Sure.
She may be a potential guest in the Daverhood at some point. That'd be cool.
Because we were talking at the Broadway show about how cabaret will survive and re-phoenix itself, right?
Cabaret maybe before Broadway. If you think about it, people can be distanced at tables. They can have table service, and they're usually in cabaret. It's 1 or 2 people on stage. So you're not having the interaction and the spit flying and the hugs and the kissing that you would have in Streetcar Named Desire and things. So it's like, cabaret should come back certainly before Broadway does. Anyway, it is 20 after 11 Eastern Time. And since we're talking about cabaret, and since we're talking about Broadway, why don't we go inside Broadway for some news of the Rialto? I've been, a theater critic for many years, and an actor, a director, a playwright. So I love talking about theater. There's not that much to talk about. So we'll do it pretty darn quick as we go inside Broadway. Inside Broadway, a look at theater on and off Broadway and beyond. Brought to you by Total Theater and Performing Arts Insider. Curtain going up. Yes, inside Broadway we go, as we try to go every week here in the Daverhood. This week, not only because of COVID and everything, but also because now it's summertime, it's June time, and things are still sort of up in the air. The news quiets down. Last week would have been the Tony Awards, had there been Tony Awards this year. We did our special Tony show last week on Dave's.
Even if I go in the other room, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I think I'm good for the rest of the... Thanks, sweetie. Thanks
I'll leave this
for your help.
In case you need it.
Yeah. But here's the deal. So, no Tonys, and producers, they're kind of starting to plan, at least the institutional theaters are starting to plan for 2021. We're trying to figure, okay, we can announce productions for next spring. People aren't even talking about winter at this point. They're saying, got a show, we want to put it together, and we can get it up on the boards by like March of 2021. So that's where the thinking is right now. For now, remember that all Broadway and off-Broadway shows are on hiatus, are suspended through September 7th. So it doesn't mean that September 8th, suddenly all the marquees are going to be lit and you can just go in and see a show. Not happening. All it means is if you have bought a ticket to a show between March and September 7th, you get your money back, you can trade it in, there's not going to be anything. But I wouldn't be surprised if come after Labor Day, if we don't get another spike of COVID, which we seem to be doing, but if things go according to Hoyle, then they'll start planning and work and building sets and doing costumes and rehearsals, and we start bringing in the people in the early part of the year. Anyway, want to let you know that theaters, weirdly enough, off-Broadway theaters are opening now. Well, sort of. They've been opening their lobbies to the BLM protesters. So even though we're in the middle of a pandemic, they're figuring, hey, we want to support the cause of stopping police brutality and equating black and white finally in this country equally. And therefore, if there's protests, they need water, if they need a respite, a little shelter, if they need a place to gather and stuff, we're going to open our lobbies of these theaters. I think the public theater's doing it, a bunch of theaters have said we're going to open the doors and just let the protesters hang in the lobby if they need to regroup. But that's the only openings that theaters have seen this past week. And then the other thing is that the New York Philharmonic, just so you know, they're not talking about September. They have canceled all performances through January 5th. So they're kind of hoping to just get through any kind of secondary autumn spike, get the audiences back in when massive audiences are allowed to be back in, and start things up again right after the new year. We shall see. Want to let you know, a couple of things. First of all, if you want to keep tabs on what is and will be happening on and off Broadway, remember, this is the magazine to get. It's Performing Arts Insider, the Bible of Broadway. Has been since 1944. I came onto the staff about 18, 19 years ago, took it over completely about 2 years ago when the co-publisher died. So now, this is my baby. It's Performing Arts Insider. Notice the cover. This was the March issue. This was the show that was supposed to open the night of the New York, not curfew, the New York shutdown. And then Hangman, the show ended up not opening at all. Now, I'm holding up the March issue because this is the last issue so far that we've had in hard copy print. But our subscribers have still been getting monthly issues. We've just been sending them as PDF files to them. But very soon, we're going to be printing these up hard copy too and get back in the swing of things. Plus, okay, you're asking, well, what is the point of having a theater magazine when there's no theater? Well, for those of you who are figuring out what you're going to do next year, what shows you want to see, for people who own theaters, for people who are looking for guests on talk shows. That's a lot of the folks who subscribe to Performing Arts Insider, as well as libraries and school libraries. This is the place for all the information you're going to need for next year. It's in here. A guide to the Broadway season. These are all the shows that opened in the past season, plus a list of the shows that were supposed to open and may still, once things get back underway. A little map of the Broadway district. A guide to all the theaters on Broadway, what shows are in them, how many seats those theaters have. This is crucial information for anybody in the entertainment industry in New York. A guide to the press agents, the people who handle all the shows. They get the critics in, they promote the shows. All the press agents and their contact info is here. A day-by-day listing of every show on Broadway, as well as off and off Broadway. As I said, there's nothing playing right now. But when this thing gets hopping, or when you have to plan for that, there is no magazine as useful as Performing Arts Insider. And then, of course, you've got our comprehensive listing of every single show that was either playing when Broadway came to its shutdown or was in the pipeline to start now or next month, or things that are very much in the pipeline for next year. Page after page of this information in Performing Arts Insider. To find out more, go to performingartsinsider.com, Performing Arts Insider, the Bible of Broadway. Well, we're doing our Inside Broadway segment. It's 11:30 in the morning Eastern Time here in the Daverhood. You're watching me, Dave Lefkowitz, do the Dave's Gone By Show, our 750th episode, June 13th, 2020. We're calling it Riot Gear because of where we're at in America. But we can take a breather from that. We can take a breather from COVID, a breather from politics, a breather from brutality and violence, a breather from not having theater by celebrating theater, because tonight the Drama Desk, tonight at 7:30, the Drama Desk Awards are going to be streamed. They're also going to be on New York One. You can watch them on regular television or at dramadeskawards.com. Now, this was supposed to happen, I think, like 2 weeks ago, and then they postponed it. They stopped it because of the riots, and they felt it was inappropriate to celebrate Broadway and all that while while America was exploding in hatred. So they thought, America's fine now. Everything's solved. Everything's fixed. Now we'll hold the Drama Desk Awards. So they will. And appearances are scheduled by James Corden, Kristen Chenoweth, Alan Cumming, Jane Krakowski, Santino Fontana, Audra McDonald, Cynthia Nixon, Jesse Tyler Ferguson, and so many more. Frank DeLella will be the host of the Drama Desks. And what's kind of nice is, it's free to watch. Everyone can watch it, which is very egalitarian. However, they are asking for donations to benefit the Actors Fund. Not the Drama Desk, but the Actors Fund, which has for years been helping actors in need, whether they're in nursing homes or they can't pay some of their bills or they have hospital things that they're dealing with. It's a really great organization. So, and what's kind of cool is there will be suspense in this Zoom cast. They've announced the nominees. We will find out the winners tonight on the awards. So it's happening, the 65th Annual Drama Desk Awards, live streaming tonight at dramadeskawards.com, starting at 7:30 Eastern. And finally, I gotta say a fond bon voyage. Usually when I say bon voyage, and adios and adieu and farewell in this segment, it's because somebody died. Some actor who was on Broadway, some director, some famous person, I've got to be like, oh, so sad, and here's their career, and they passed away, and here's how old they were, and so forth. And I have to end the segment on a downer note. But this is not that. I am saying bon voyage very fondly to a woman named Susan Chacoin. Susan Chacoin has been a press agent for 40 plus years. She was at Lincoln Center. And then after getting a little tired of New York, she went out to the coast, and she has been at San Diego's Old Globe Theater, representing them for many, many years. She also did some other theaters in the San Diego area for a while. And Susan is retiring. She spent 40 years in the trenches. And so she sent out her thing. She's had a wonderful time. It's time to move on to that next phase of her life. And it just makes me sad because it makes me realize how friggin' old I am. And I guess I've told this story before. In fact, I told this story when someone did die. And that was back in Lincoln Center, back when I first became a theater critic. And we're rolling back now to 1988, 89. And I was a critic, and I got my stories into the Long Island Examiner newspaper, and Once in a Blue Moon Show Business magazine, and Stages magazine. So I was a kid. I was just out of college, or a couple of years out of college, and loving theater, and realizing that I could write about it in an intelligent way, a way that wasn't snarky but could be clever, because I have turns of phrase and things like that, and could really be a pretty good theater critic. So I started doing it, but I was unknown. I wasn't, Howard Kissel or Clive Barnes or John Simon or any of those folks, or back in the day, I guess this was just before the Frank Rich era, I believe, at the New York Times. But it was like, I was like, okay, it was little old me, just trying to see some shows and write about them on Broadway, off Broadway, wherever. And some of the press agents were very cool about it, because these are the folks that you ask, hey, can I please get tickets to see this show for free? But the give back is that I will write about it. I'm not going to guarantee that I'm going to write nicely about it. I can't guarantee that I'll like it. But the guarantee is you give me the tickets and I will, do a review, a legitimate, thoughtful review of the show. And that was the deal. And some critics responded right away. Folks at the Shirley Hers agency were particularly nice about it. And David Rothenberg and his people were really cool about it. And then others were kind of like, well, we'll let you see this off-Broadway show, but you're not on the Broadway list. And other folks were like, no, we don't know who you are. Get some more training, get some more seasoning. Fine. But when I wanted to see shows at Lincoln Center, which has two theaters, it's got the Vivian Beaumont Broadway Theater and the Mitzi E. Newhouse, the off-Broadway house, all in the same building complex. I would call up to get, or to ask for, or write to them to ask for, and I would show clips. That's what you would do back in the day. You would prove you were a legitimate critic by sending these people copies of reviews that you wrote, and you would show, hey, I'm not just sponging tickets here. I'm writing about this, and I write rather well. Take a look, right? So I would do this to all these press agencies, and most of them were very amenable, to the point where I got on the important lists, where I became a member of the Drama Desk and the Art Critics Circle. But I wanted to see shows, certainly, at Lincoln Center. And I would contact Lincoln Center, send them a letter, nothing. This was already, I guess, the time of email, nothing. And then finally I would call and be as absolutely nice and courteous as possible. And the person running the press office for Lincoln Center at that point was a fellow named Merle DeBusky, legendary press agent. Been in the field, I think he spent about 60, 70 years in the field. Merle DeBusky, who passed away about a year or two ago, I believe. And when he died, I did a bit of an obituary on here, because he is someone, when you're not supposed to speak ill of the dead, I spoke really, really ill of Merle DeBusky, because he was a miserable son of a bitch. And I will say that till my dying day, that he was a horror. At least to me, which is all that matters. He might have been nice to other people. He was a shitbag to me. And to other people in my place, all us rising critics, writing for these little penny savers in these little places, because it wasn't that he wasn't letting us into shows. It was that he was an asshole about it. He would hang up, he would yell, and it trickled down too, because he had a guy working for him. And that guy, he was just as nasty, if not more, on the phone when you could reach him than Merle was. And then I would meet that guy after he left that office, and he worked for some other places, and he turned out to be this really nice, friendly guy who was really helpful as soon as he got out of the Lincoln Center Merle DeBusky office, right? But when he was there, the corporate culture of that press office was a horror. It was a nightmare, and hated that man, Merle DeBusky, because he was mean for absolutely no particular. It wasn't like, oh, I'm sorry, you're not on the list, where we just don't allow press agents, we don't allow critics unless they've reached this level in their career or this stature, or they're on the, fine, sorry, etc. No, it was more like, oh, go away, hang up, too busy for the pissant likes of you. You're not going to help us sell any tickets. Why should I even have the courtesy of being courteous to you? And the office was like this for a couple of years, well into, it was before I got the job at Playbill. But, and what happened was, the Lincoln Center office hired this woman, Susan Chicoine. They brought her in as kind of the secondary press agent after Merle. And she came in. And suddenly, it was like Mary Poppins coming. It was like flowers blooming. They became human. They became decent. They became borderline friendly even. But she was certainly. And now I would call up and and sometimes it was too hot of a show, they wouldn't let me in, and sometimes they would let me in. But either way, it was a pleasant exchange. It was either, oh, yes, these are the press dates when we'd like to come, or no, I'm sorry, we can't let you in on this one. So sorry. Okay. Very different atmosphere, very different idea. And, maybe, and later on, the Merle Dubusky retired, and the Lincoln Center brought on Phil Rinaldi, and they're a fine office too. They've been great. But but Susan, it was a sad day for me when she left New York press agenting and went on to the West Coast. I always wish I was more in California so I could see some of the other shows that she was representing. But that's the thing. I want to take this opportunity to say to Susan Chicoine very publicly, because I sent her an email in private already. Thank you. Thank you for the job you did. Thank you for coming into an office that was poison and being the antidote. Thank you for being a decent human being in a nest of vipers and changing the culture of that nest of vipers. Because I'm sure Dubusky after a while stepped away and let her run things. And she ran them in her own way with her own personality and became a lovely person to deal with, as did everyone else in that office. So thank you, Susan Chicoine. Thank you for your 40 years of service in the theater trenches. Thank you for that. And have a very, very happy and healthy and successful retirement. Told you this was going to be a happy ending to the Inside Broadway segment of Dave's Gone By. I wouldn't kid you about something like that. Ain't Broadway grand?
It's the famous gay white way where the night is bright as day. Ain't Broadway grand?
It's not just a thoroughfare, it's a tingle in the air. Ain't Broadway grand?
It's excitement, it's romance, it's all fun and song and dance. This wonderland. You can be a millionaire quicker here than anywhere. Ain't Broadway grand?
Yes, Broadway is grand indeed, and I feel grand doing this program every Saturday from 9 until noon or thereabouts. You're watching Dave's Gone By with me, Dave Lefkowitz, here in the Daverhood. Please remember that if you missed the first part of this program because we had some technical difficulties, we're going to slam them together, put them in iMovie, get it all together, and we post the archives at davesgoneby.com. The archives will also be available on Facebook, as well as archive.org and castbox.fm. So you need not miss a minute, or you can tell folks, oh, gosh, there was a very fun quiz that I took when I was watching Dave's Gone By, the Today Yesterday quiz. Here's a friend of mine. Hey, you got half an hour. Let's watch that segment together and have some fun. So yeah, please do check out the website and the archives of the Daverhood, as well as writing to me, davesgoneby@aol.com, or certainly if you want to get in touch, you can post messages either during the show or during the week at this Facebook page, Dave's Gone By. Well, still so much to do on the show. I want to talk about the world at large. I want to do our Colorado Limerick of the Damned, our Wretched Pun of Destiny, and usually it's I have to apologize for the pun or for the Limerick of the Damned, but now I also have to apologize for our Dave's Big Dictionary segment, because my wife thumbed through the Webster's Dictionary, and the word her finger landed on was Oxlip. It's a plant, Oxlip. And I've got to think of something to talk about involving that. I will. I promise. I will. I'm not sure what. But I want to go off a little bit. This is my time to mouth off. I was more into it last week, but I couldn't do it because it was a special Tony show. But let me play my Dave Goes Off theme to ease me into it. And here we go. Dave goes off. Dave goes off. Dave goes off. Dave goes off. So, yeah. What is the old Chinese curse? Not the new Chinese curse, that's COVID, but the old Chinese curse is, may you live in interesting times. Are we living in interesting times, folks, or what? Okay, so I talked about, going back to work and post-COVID and all of that, but, that's one thing that just irks me. Well, I don't know, or what did Dennis Miller used to do? I don't mean to go on a rant, folks, but it's one thing to empathize with the Black Lives Matter movement and the death of an unarmed black man at the hands of police. It was essentially, if he was choking to death for 9 straight minutes, that's not just murder, that's torture. That is actually torture. Okay, so absolutely, in spirit, empathize with the nature of that. But of course, things are so freaking polarized on one level politically, and then also so politically correct on another level, that you can't even think straight anymore. And you can't, more importantly, you can't speak straight anymore. Because if you even hint at understanding or appreciating another side to things, you're immediately called out and even cancel cultured, right? So you had people, radio people, paid radio people, unlike this fella, who were on the air and they were trying to talk things through, trying to talk seriously about what was going on. And they were looking at this, and they were looking not just at the death of George Floyd, but they were looking at the riots that ensued, protests, and then the riots themselves, and saying, you know what? All lives matter. And those three words, all lives matter, got them thrown off the air, right? Because apparently you can't say that. Apparently that's wrong. Apparently there's a racist undertow, no matter how you say it, no matter what the context, there's an undertow if you say all lives matter, because it's lessening the impact of Black Lives Matter. You wouldn't need Black Lives Matter as a movement if blacks were treated equally, if they were treated the same by police, by employers, by, I hope they're treated the same by hospitals. I hope that at least. But, or just treated in day-to-day things. If a 7-Eleven store owner didn't have a special extra eye on black people, because they're more likely to, ... right? Whether true or not. Is this idea of living under a microscope the way a person of ethnicity in this country has to do. And that little extra level of fear from anyone in authority, like that guy who's in Central Park and tells this woman, wear a mask and leash your dog. And she cries rape into the phone, right? And okay, this woman lost her job. I'm halvesies on that. I think on some level she should pay some kind of penalty for doing a false police report, or I don't know. He could have a civil suit against her. Losing her job for that moment, I think already that's still perhaps a little bit jumping the gun, a little bit over much. But to actually try and have a conversation on the air with people where these two radio folks said, it's horrible what happened to George Floyd. Everybody know. The most far right-wing Republican alive. Because Strom Thurmond, George Wallace, well, you snap a neck here and there. But everybody else, even the far right-wing, will have to look at the George Floyd video, which I haven't been able to watch, and go, Jesus Christ, that cannot happen, right? It's horrible. We all agree on this. Left, right, middle. It's awful. And these people on the radio agreed with that too. But they also said that if you are a shop owner, a store owner on Fifth Avenue, or in Seattle, or California, wherever all the protests and riots broke out. Protests are one thing, riots are very different. And you are a store owner completely innocent of anything. And you wake up in the morning and your windows are smashed and thousands of dollars of merchandise are taken. Your life, maybe some were threatened, and maybe some were punched. But the point is, their lives do matter also, whether they're black or white or Asian, Eskimo, not so much. But the others, yes, right? All lives matter. We should all rise to the level where all lives matter equally, right? How is saying that a knock on the Black Lives Matter movement? It's not saying all lives. It's not saying Black lives don't matter. It's not the implication when people say white power versus black power, where you say white power, it's like, that's sort of racy, not so good. Ku Klux Klan, hoods, blah, blah. Whereas Black Lives Matter, black people say it, and it's fine. White people say it's in sympathy with them. Whereas you say white power, okay. It's not quite like that. All lives should matter. All lives, I'm talking like William Shatner, all lives must matter. And yet even saying the phrase got these two guys thrown off the air because we can't talk. Okay? We can't say the whole truth. We have to narrowcast our truths to avoid being canceled or being looked down upon by the side that we're on. If you mention that George Floyd was, for a certain period of his life, a piece of shit, it's like, oh my God, right? Let me tell you something. It was horrible what the cops did to George Floyd. But George Floyd committed armed robbery. Most of his offenses were he had a long rap sheet, as people have said, but there's a lot of drug stuff, a lot of minor drug. If we had better drug laws and drug ideas in this country, his rap sheet would be like a third of the size. But even so, he had committed armed robbery, right? Well, if I were the person in that establishment, and George Floyd and whoever else was with him, I don't know if he was alone or with other people, and this person came in, threatened me with a deadly weapon if I didn't give him X, Y, what's in the register, or what's on the shelves, or what's in the safe. If the very act of coming to me, if I were in that store and I were watching that video of the cop with his foot on George Floyd's neck, I'd be, press harder, get him. Because this person was not behaving like a person at that point. He was behaving like a craven animal. He was robbing. He was stealing at gun point. That's threatened with deadly force. If I were in a bank or working in a bank, and I did work in a bank for a few months, and a bank robber came in and threatened people, maybe didn't kill people, but literally came in with a mask. Well, now you have to wear a mask to get into a bank. And that's a whole other story. But if he comes in with a mask and pointing guns, nobody moved, nobody pressed the thing. Person gets away. They find out who it is, right? They track that person down. This person who threatened me. And then that person, just so happened to get an angry or mistrained cop who kills him. I'd be down with that. Now there are people who are going to say, well, first of all, you're conflating things, right? You can't equate what happened to George Floyd with what he did all those years ago, because they are two separate things. And George Floyd paid his penalty to society. He was imprisoned for a few years. He did time. So he did the crime. He did the time, and then he apparently turned his life around, except he was trying to kite $20 in fake bills. Again, not something you're supposed to be tortured and killed for. If you accidentally pass, God knows. I mean, don't look at the bills you get. You could accidentally pass one. I don't think it was an accident. So he was even when he was now a choir boy, he was no choir boy. But if you say that, then immediately, right, the left and the BLM people will be like, you're equating it. How dare you equate that? How dare you say that? It's okay for a cop to kill a person like that because, he's a bit of a rap sheet because he did something bad 30 years ago, which he paid for, and that he was killed in that way. We're not equating it. We're not saying, nobody is saying that what the police did was good or right, or that wasn't, I think he's being charged with second-degree murder. Chauvin, the cop, is. Nobody is saying that he shouldn't stand trial for taking a person who was unarmed on the ground and pleading to breathe and not letting that person, and not to mention the cops who stood around and let that happen. Nobody's saying that was right. And nobody is equating it with necessarily saying, oh, they should have done that to him right that moment because he robbed a store 20 years ago. No. But I am saying that there's all these different facets, and that you can look at George Floyd and not make him like the second fucking coming of Martin Luther King, right? And still appreciate that he was murdered. You know, he's nobody's idea. He's a martyr, but he's nobody's idea of a hero. He's not. Sorry. He just did. You want to wear him on a T-shirt? I guess what people do. People wear T-shirts of Bonnie and Clyde, right? And he's not, a poster boy. Or, sorry, poster man. I'll be called racist for saying that. He's not. He's just a guy who made bad mistakes in his life and then paid a terrible price, except it's not an equivalent price. And then trying to say that by saying that riots are wrong because they're an expression of anger. I'm not talking about, God knows if there really is an Antifa. Right? I imagine Antifa until Donald Trump started talking about them. There's probably 3 kids in their basement who are reading the Anarchist Handbook. They say, well, let's form an organization. Okay. Well, what do we call it? Well, we don't like fascism too much. Let's call it Down with Fascism. Now it's too long. We want it to fit on that. How about Antifa? We got it. Okay, let's Twitter it. And then, little pockets of nothing around the world. And by people who saw that movie with the masks and Natalie Portman, they get all excited. Oh, let's create anarchy in the world. A dozen people. Until Donald Trump says, oh, this isn't angry people about injustice. This isn't black people saying, oh, 400 years of slavery in this crazy country, maybe it's enough. No, it's bad people coming in from this Antifa organization who somehow have tentacles in all these different states that they can magically and immediately start riots or turn protests into riots. It's not anger. It isn't rage. It isn't people, and it's, and what happens is, first of all, the name Antifa is nice. Anti-fascism. We should be anti-fascism. Fascism bad, ladies and gentlemen. So if Antifa were an organization that wasn't dedicated to chaos and overthrowing the government, if it was just an organization that was there to say, hey, here's what's wrong with governments in places like, Turkey or the United States or England, wherever else you want to pick, Russia, right? Then we should all be joining. But by glorifying them and keeping mentioning them, Antifa went from something nobody had ever heard of to now everybody knows it. Everybody knows. But, this idea of the rioters and having to, and this freeze defunded police thing, really. So your idea for taking a systemic police culture that has been racist, as have so many other cultures been, and has been brutal for years and years. And it was kind of funny. Joyce and I were watching just the other day a Max Fleischer cartoon from the 1940s, maybe late 30s. It was in color, but it was a Max Fleischer cartoon. Now he was kind of the be all and end all besides Disney and before Warner Brothers, and then they came around with Looney Tunes. So Fleischer did this cartoon of all these vegetables coming to life, and it was a whole vegetable society. Which was okay. I know that was farm animals and vegetables together. I don't remember it all that well. I picked it out because there were animated potatoes in there. I'm like, ooh, potatoes, But what was interesting about this cartoon from 70, 80 years ago was that the potatoes were Irish cops. They were the police in the society. And they were, kind of lazy and really stupid and like, talking in the Irish brogue. And they were also unbelievably brutal. They would just, whether innocent or guilty, they would just club all the other vegetables whenever they got a chance. So this is the reputation that police have had. Forgetting black people, this is the reputation that police have had for decades. It was the Irish cop on the beat, and if you mouthed off to him, woe to you. You would have a broken skull, you would have broken fingers. Nothing to, broken kneecaps, night in jail, and you never mouthed off to a cop again, right? So this whole thing, yes, it has to do with black people, but it's also got to do with police entitled culture and the blue wall of silence as well. So there's tons of issues with police and what they think they can get away with when they put on a uniform, and especially if you're like a state trooper with those dark glasses, man, that's it. They probably feel like fucking Iron Man. They probably feel like whatever I do to keep the peace, I've got my training, but I am the law. I don't represent the law. I am the law. And especially if you don't look like me, I'm going to treat you ever so much worse and distrust you ever so much more. And that's an issue that we have with police. So what is the answer that some factions are calling for? A lot of the youth culture. Defund the police. Don't pay them. Or take away the departments. Cut their budgets. Get rid of police departments. Really? Really? Is this Woodstock? And was Woodstock really Woodstock? Woodstock, no. Give Woodstock one more day, it would have turned into Altamont without police. It's like, change the police, change the culture. And again, you have to hire, it's not just about hiring more minorities, it's about training them too, because they become part of the police, I am the law, you are garbage to me culture, right? Whoever's wearing the uniform, because you're not black, not white, you're not brown, you're blue. And once you're blue, it's kind of something takes over. It's like, my wife mentioned Star Trek before, that pod that gets into Captain Kirk or gets into Spock and then changes their whole personality and makes them a way that they wouldn't ordinarily be when the uniform isn't on, right? That's what really has to change. But to say that you're going to change it by making fewer people want to be police officers because you have to pay people fairly well in order to put their lives on the line day in, day out, and have such an incredibly difficult and demanding, tough job. I mean, I bitch about my job, but I just go in and I do it and I don't even think about it and I listen to music all day and whatever. But they've got to be on the ball every second. Sometimes in the seconds when they think they can relax are the most fraught. Everybody knows that the domestic disturbance is the most dangerous thing of all. That when a policeman goes in and they get a call that a husband and wife are fighting, 70% of the time, that's when the cop has to be most careful because somebody's got a knife or a gun or some bad might go down, right? That's the thing about it. They don't know. Before they can ask questions, they've got to get the scene under control and subdue, right? They weren't wrong for subduing George Floyd. They weren't wrong for trying to subdue that, I forget his name, the fat black guy who was selling cigarettes, the fake cigarettes, right? They were wrong for trying to just neutralize him safely. They were wrong for what went beyond that. But to say that the way to solve this is to just remove police departments, get rid of police. It's like, and then what? Who, as we say, who are we going to call? Who are you going to ask directions for when you're wandering around Lower Manhattan? You don't know where the hell to go. Ask a cop if they're there. Whom you're going to call if you hear something. You have a house and there's somebody rustling around downstairs. You hear a window smashed. What, you're going to call your grandparents? You're going to call the next door neighbor? No. You're going to call the local police department. And again, we have to change the culture that if you're black, they don't come in and shoot you. Right? That's the culture that has to change, but it isn't changed by removing funding and demoralizing and debilitating the police force and firing cops randomly just to make the budget and paying cops less because you have less money to work with. It comes with cops working much more closely with local organizations, with the people, retraining, getting youth groups and things, which I'm sure they do already. It helps only so much. But the culture needs to change. It's kind of like the culture of, I guess, the military that I've heard about, where underneath all of that of being for God and country and defending America, and there's this bubbling underneath of right-wing fundamental Christianity and a certain level of anti-other cultures and anti-Semitism that's kind of percolating in the military that we don't really hear about. That culture should change too. You can change the cop culture that way. But just this, police terrible. They've been terrible. In some ways, they have been terrible for many, many decades. But just get rid of the police force. Defund them. I wasn't even going to talk about that ridiculousness so much. What I started to say, and what pissed me off more than any of this, is I'm talking to you honestly. My friend Lisa, she wrote, "You have a unique ability to say things and be listened to." I think that's why I do this show. So here's the deal. Is Dave's Gone By going to come out with a statement about George Floyd and Black Lives Matter? A definitive, declarative statement? Fuck no. As you see, I've taken 15 minutes just to clear my throat here about all the insanity that's been going on, right? And my statement is, yeah, but also, yeah. My statement is, killing Floyd horrible, right? Floyd kind of a piece of crap for a lot of his life. My statement is, protests great, riots not great. My statement is, police departments, the police culture has terrible things in it, but don't defund it. And it's like, but it just, it irked me, rankled me. This is what I started with. Suddenly, every organization had to weigh in on Black Lives Matter and the Floyd and the protests, right? Initially, you had people who were really affected by it, whether black or white or New Yorkers or wherever they were, of saying, "Oh my God, that video is so horrible. How can this happen? We stand with you, Black," and really deeply heartfelt stuff. And then there was that moment about a week and a half ago when Lin-Manuel Miranda. Now, my wife has this phobia of Lin-Manuel. I don't understand it. But Lin-Manuel Miranda, the guy who created Hamilton, right? And the be-all and all things Broadway. If Broadway is going to get back on its feet in 2021, Hamilton is going to be the one show that folks will risk going back to the theater to pay and see. So Lin-Manuel Miranda, and very generous guy, creates foundations, and he's giving money to this, and he's helping with that, and he's trying to save the drama bookshop. I mean, a menschy kind of guy, even though, alas, he's not Jewish, okay? Lin-Manuel Miranda goes on Twitter or Facebook, one of those, to apologize. Why? Because he didn't make a statement about George Floyd and Black Lives Matter. Think about this. Here's a guy, not even a corporate, just this brilliant songwriter and theater creator and generous man, and by all accounts, a very decent man, has to go on and apologize because people were getting at him for saying, "Well, you always tweet about Trump. Well, you always talk about this. And yet, white-ish, Hispanic-y person, how come we haven't heard from you about Black Lives Matter? What are you against the movement? Do you think what happened to George Floyd was right? How dare you not make an official statement, a man in your position?" And then you had to go on fucking Twitter and tell everybody, like, yes, Black Lives Matter. This George Floyd thing is heartbreaking. It's horrible. Theater culture all culture needs to change. Blah, blah, blah. And he felt it. And I absolutely know, the kind of person that he is, that it's heartfelt from him and real. But this idea of suddenly being goaded into which side are you on, not just personally, not just internally, but forcing someone to kind of go public that way. And then the onslaught happened. Every company, every theater, on Broadway, off Broadway, suddenly they were drafting these statements, right? A week and a half after George Floyd was dead, something like, we stand with Black Lives Matter. We stand with the changing of racism in America. And it's a lovely thought at its core. But this has nothing to do with an emotional, even intellectual response to the horror that happened to George Floyd. This is just, if we do this, then we get our names in of our theater company with all these other theater companies that are now doing it. So maybe we'll be mentioned when they write a story about this, or gosh, if we don't now make a statement, then we look like bad people who aren't in line with the BLM cause. Guess we better make an official statement. Let's get cracking on that right now. We stand with it. And all the critics organizations I belong to have made a statement. It's like, shut the fuck up. If you didn't do it within the first 24 to 48 hours, it is no longer about a true heartfelt reaction to what was there. It's all about just sort of lining up on the correct side of things. Even if you do, on the whole, agree. And again, who doesn't agree that the George Floyd thing was an avoidable, terrible miscarriage of miscarriage of justice is weird. Miscarriage of policing, right? We all do agree with that. But to come on 6 days later when suddenly all different, hey, you haven't posted yet. You haven't made an official statement yet. We might not buy tickets to you when you reopen because you haven't done your bit for the cause, verbally, at least. And now it's like every time, and then go on all the websites. And I'm assuming that companies and stores are doing it too. I don't even look. I don't even care. I don't want to fucking know, right? I mean, I imagine for the movement itself, and maybe, and I cannot talk, of course, for Black people, it's nice for them to see it. I mean, if I put myself in their shoes, and let's say Israel, God forbid, was at war with Iran or Iraq or Libya or Syria, and then all these places a week, 2 weeks later, especially in our current culture, said, we stand with Israel, even if it isn't the same day. I'm like, you know what? Thanks, that's nice, cool. But it's just someone who understands that, it's not necessarily about what you really feel anymore. It's about how you want other people to think you feel. It rankles me. And it's kind of, it's a taste of my own medicine, I admit, because, if you are on my friends list on Facebook, and I've got about 5,000 friends on Facebook, you'll know that when I remember, which is most of the time, I'm trying to send a happy birthday message when it is your birthday. And I say, happy birthday. It's nice that I remember you, isn't it? But I also lay in a second part of that. And I say, hey, remember, watch Dave's Gone By, Saturdays, live on Facebook. Now, here's the link. And someone called me on it. One of my former friends on Facebook called me on it and said, well, how sincere can you possibly be if within the context, the framework of wishing me a happy birthday, you put in an advertisement for your show? It cannot be a particularly sincere birthday greeting. And I typed back immediately. I said, well, it's sincere. I don't know you. I don't know you personally. Honestly, I don't give a shit whether you have a happy birthday or not, but I thought it'd be nice. I thought I saw that it came up on my crawl that it's your birthday. Happy birthday. And by the way, yes, I'm going to remind you and hope that you are a viewer or will be a viewer if you haven't been already to the Dave's Gone By show. So I'm going to pop that in there. I'm not asking you to buy anything. There's nothing, I'm not selling t-shirts. So there's no fee to watch the show, even the archives at davesgoneby.com. No, I just want you to watch. It's free. You can click the link or not. But happy birthday. And he was like, well, that can't be very sincere. And I was like, oh, fuck. And I deleted him from my friends list because I took sort of umbrage. But anyway, on a certain level, he's basically right. What I said was happy birthday. What I meant was watch my show. So when these theater companies and these businesses are tweeting and Instagramming and posting and taking out ads for, and they're saying Black Lives Matter, and they're saying Black America, or the way we treat blacks in America must change. That's what they're saying. What they're meaning is pay attention to us, buy our product, be with us when the pandemic's over. I get it, but I'm calling them out their name, as it were, to use an August Wilson phrase. I'm calling them out their name. I get it, and it's annoying as fuck. So please stop already. Okay? If you are an intelligent, decent person, we know that the George Floyd thing was scary and horrible and terrible. Okay, but let's have the reasonable dialogues. Let's not have the freaking cancel culture that we have because people are trying to suss things out in an extremely confusing and dangerous time. That being said, I do, and I'll close this segment with this, I am weighing cancel culturing Ice Cube. Ice Cube, the actor, Ice Cube, the rapper, at one point quite brilliant rap artist. I don't know if you've been following this story. Now, I always wanted to give Ice Cube the benefit of doubt, a doubt that I couldn't give Professor Griff of Public Enemy, who was out and out, anti-Semite crazy. Cube accused throughout his career of some level of anti-Semitic talk, because but he would try and get things out there. And sometimes there would be a little bit, they'd come off as, because he was spewing. And sometimes when you spew, you say things. You kind of mean them, but you kind of don't. You're just angry. Or you're getting at something, but you say it in a way that's even more offensive than you think you're being. Where you're saying it to change things and to point something out, but the way you're saying it is hurtful to certain people. Okay, so I get that. And there's even a point in my favorite song of his, When Will They Shoot? Which is, I would say go listen to it, but don't go listen to it because I'm boycotting Ice Cube right now. But there's a line in there. They said, I won't say, they say, don't say the J word, J for Jewish. Well, I thought they were bugging because to us, Uncle Sam is Hitler without an oven. Okay? I mean, it's burning our black skin, bomb a neighborhood, then push the crack in. Okay. I mean, just so much going on in that. So he was probably talking back then, 25 years ago when The Predator came out, 30 years ago, I think, when The Predator came out, of probably Jewish people taking advantage of black musical artists, certainly back in the day, and then other things of Jewish people in power positions in media, not paying attention, or taking advantage of the rap artists, and so forth. And him using that moment to say, look, all you could say was anti-Semitic, but I'm trying to say something else. I'll give him the benefit. He's addressing the issue, going there, meeting that head on. And then what happens this week? He starts posting on, I guess it's Twitter or TikTok or one of those things, these images. And one of them is an image of a black cube. Well, he is a black cube. But no, it's like a black cube, the kind that you see if you've ever been in Astor Place in New York. It's an artwork. It's a piece of really cool thing. It's on this spindle, and you can go up to this cube and slowly turn it. It's a movable artwork. It's neat. Okay? Doesn't mean anything, but it's a cube. But apparently, this black cube represents something about Jewish control of things. Pardon me. Sorry, Ice Cube just gave me COVID. This cube has another weird dark web representation of Jews control this, Jews control the media, blah, blah, blah. And just to show it, he puts this cube inside of a Mogen David, of a Jewish star. And someone just tweets this, no explanation, just, boom, this look. I'm like, what the fuck, right? And then he shows pictures of that artwork cube in Astor Place and then other places in cities, as if, again, he doesn't verbally explain anything, but he intimates that all these big cities and that they're being run by this giant conspiracy. Well, okay. And then he has this other painting, a mural that was done. And this is a little more, shall we say, a little more hard to parse, a little less cut and dry. And it's a mural of black people stripped. They're slaves. They're just, they're wearing loincloths, and they're all bent over. They're kneeling with their backs straight, and on their backs is a big old table. And over the table are these really rich financiers in, big top hats and black hats and lovely clothes and beards and smoking cigars. And it's the rich capitalists living off the backs of blacks. And if you look closely at a couple of those capitalists, they do have the features, the big nose and the look of Jewish, the way Jews were represented in like German Nazi cartoons in the early 1930s. Not all of them. I think that particular painting is much more about the wealthy class living on the backs of the eating off the backs of the underclass. And it just so happens that about 3 to 4 of those 6 financiers sitting around this table happen to look like really deep caricatures of Jews. But when you put those together with the Jewish star black cube thing, with statements that Cuba has apparently made in the past that he had to apologize, or not apologize for, but to explain, and you start to get the feeling that, okay, he's been indoors probably for 3 months in his mansion. He's going a little COVID crazy. He started reading Protocols of the Elders of Zion, or whatever the fuck he's been listening to, or the Black Israelites, or so forth. And now it's like, woo, Ice Cube goes buggy time. And all that poison that was in him, and all those toxins that he suppressed when he became a big, rich movie star in movies that were probably produced by Jewish people, when he's acting alongside Jewish folks. Now, no. Reason a black man's rioting, reason police are the way they are, reason blacks get paid less, reason all that. It's the Jews. It's those media-owning, rich, capitalist, money-hungry, big-nosed, old, bearded fucking Jews. So tweets, visually, possibly, Ice Cube. And I'm sure you can sit him down for half an hour and he'll have all these mealy-mouthed explanations of what he really meant by showing those images. I don't give a fuck. Okay? It's going to suck because I'm going to miss hearing some of his music. But if we want to talk about cancel culture, where we can't laugh at Bill Cosby albums anymore, right? Because Bill Cosby. And we don't really want to watch movies produced by Harvey Weinstein anymore, although it's kind of, that again is pushing the out. Don't listen to any Wagner music. Don't listen to Public Enemy because Griff was in the band. It gets, don't watch any Mel Gibson movies. Don't, this. Don't, and HBO. And I'm okay with this, by the way. HBO is taking Gone with the Wind, a racist film in a lot of ways. HBO has this other channel called HBO Max, right? I don't know if you've heard about this. They were going to show Gone with the Wind. They got the rights to it, going to show it, or have it showable on their site. And then they say, you know what, we're pulling it in this era. It's Gone with the friggin' Wind. There's problems with this film that go even beyond Butterfly McQueen. But what we're going to do is we'll post it again. We're not censoring it. We're not banning it. But when we post it, we're going to have an intro that puts the film in context. And then, at the end, we'll probably have a discussion or something, a dialogue about the film. So if they do this quickly and well, I'm all for it. I think that's a very fair compromise for people who have a problem with just showing Gone with the Wind, which, by the way, used to be shown perennially. And in white America, we'll talk of it. And that's not a nice way of representing black people. They just show the movie, didn't think about it. Now we think about it. And we're going to be made to think about it. And that's okay. So maybe I'm doubling back on my thoughts. Maybe I won't cancel culture Ice Cube. Because I remember when I was at NYU. I think I've told this story before. And they were going to show not Gone with the Wind, but a motion picture. This makes Gone with the Wind look like the movie Selma. This picture was Birth of a Nation, the original, not the Black Birth of a Nation, the original D.W. Griffith silent film, the first real huge blockbuster epic motion picture, Birth of a Nation. If I'm distracted, it's because my dog looks like he's about to poop. But okay, so they were going to show Birth of a Nation as part of our Saturday Cinematheque thing. As I was going to NYU, I was in film studies, and on Saturdays they would show classic old movies because we're film students. We're soaking this stuff in, figuring out how to do this for ourselves. And we do that by watching John Ford and Hitchcock and Truffaut and Kurosawa and D.W. Griffith. And then suddenly there was a protest because this was New York, this was NYU, 1981. And they said, no, don't show this movie. This is a racist movie. How dare you show it? Yeah, and we demand that you not show the film. And I was like, do you understand the context of this? Do you understand that we're not watching Birth of a Nation to, quote unquote, enjoy it? We're watching it because it's a huge part of film history. D.W. Griffith was the first real major director after maybe Georges Méliès. We're watching it because he perfected camera techniques and angles and zooms and pans and things. And he and Billy Bitzer, his cameraman, and he was the guy who invented or co-invented the grammar of modern film. We're watching it for that. We're also watching for the place and time of it, an epic represented storytelling, cross-cutting, all of this. Can we understand that this is the context of a film school? And we're not showing it to be recruited into the Ku Klux Klan? Can you not understand that? So looking back, I understand what they were talking about. And I understand maybe, the professor could have come out for 5 minutes beforehand and given us context. As if we need. I mean, we're all liberal kids at NYU. I mean, crazy little, pampered filmmaker wannabes running around. We didn't need to be told that the Ku Klux Klan was bad, even if the film was showing us that the Ku Klux Klan is good. We know. Didn't need protests to ban the fucking movie. It was from 50 years ago. It was showing a portrait of the time. But even so, if you wanted to put it in context, more power to you, but don't censor it. Okay? There's no need for that. So I guess I'm doubling back on my Ice Cube. My Ice Cubism. I'm going to say I'll probably listen to his stuff again because his best stuff was great. A lot of his stuff is shit. But, a lot of stuff on that Predator album is some of the best rap ever made. I'm not going to do a commercial for this guy. He can drop dead for all I care at this point. Especially because he's not going to make any good music ever again. He hasn't made good music in 20 years. But, I don't know. But as you can see, my head is swirling. I came on, you're supposed to come on and have talking points and be like Bill O'Reilly or Sean Hannity or Tucker Carlson, and just like, this is how I fit this, and this box is what I fit into, and I can explain it really beautiful because I've got these talking points lined up. And I come on here, and because I'm also trying to be a humorist, I'm here and there, not quite scattered, but a little bit working things out in my own head as I'm saying them and trying to say them occasionally funny. And that's where I am. If we all did more of that, either speaking them or just in our own heads, we might not be in the political situation, in the racial and social situation that we are now. If we all just kind of sat down and took political correctness off the freaking table and just really talked, I think we'd still probably be in the same mess we are now. Let me just make sure. I think my dog pooped. So if you can just hold on one moment. Bookie boy, did you leave us a present somewhere? I think I smell it. Hold on, folks. Thank you for your patience. Yeah, it's possible. False alarm. It's possible he just farted. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's Dave's Gone By. That's what we do. No, that's not the end of the show, by the way, for all of you watching and hopefully being entertained by the things that are popping out of my brain today. Well, there's more things coming out of my brain. We have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned to do. We have our Dave's Big Dictionary segment, where I'm going to be talking very briefly about oxlips. And let's not forget the wretched I'm not going to forget it. I don't apologize, by the way, for anything that I just said over the past 40 minutes. I was emptying my head, trying to say some amusing things, trying to work some stuff out, trying to be honest and open. Don't apologize for that, even if certain things I said, right-wingers would be like this and left-wingers would be like that. And I said it, parse it through, take it in the context of everything I said, and then unpack it, and then see what you're offended by or not offended by, or what you think you should be offended by, but you're really not. Because, no apologies. However, I do apologize for doing the Wretched Pun of Destiny. This is a segment that we do where I tell a little short story, very short story, that is capped by a play on words that just makes you go, oh God. Oh, why did he do that? And therefore, yes, with great sadness and great apologies, let me pop that up there. No, I don't want Spotify. I need my iTunes. Go away, Spotify. I bring you every week the Wretched Pun of Destiny. The Dave's Gone By, Wretched Pun of Destiny. This one is called Hawaiian Vacation. After finishing the last season of Cagney and Lacey, Sharon Gless took a well-deserved vacation to Hawaii. First on her must-see list was Mauna Loa, home of the world's largest active volcano. As the actress was walking the perimeter, the earth began rumbling. This caused a nearby food cart to lift in the air and smash down, sending a giant bucket of corn oil splashing all over her. Before she could wipe herself off, the volcano erupted and Gless was drenched in molten rock, which cooked her to a crisp. "This is a tragedy," cried one witness, "a calamity." "True," said her companion. "It's also a scientific equipment." "Scientific equipment?" said the woman. "Are you crazy?" "No," her friend replied. "Just look at this magma frying grass." I'll say that again. "Just look at this magma frying glass." I messed it up. We here at Dave's Gone By apologize for bringing you the Wretched Pun of Destiny. Oh, why? I got it. I kind of, my mouth went wrong on scientific equipment instead of it was supposed to be equipment, and then magma frying glass. Magma frying glass. Get it? Oh, so now I have to doubly apologize. My first apology was saying I apologize, but what I meant was, now I actually am saying apologize and thinking, crap, I blew it. Oh well. We have a couple of things to get right in the segment, including our Dave's Big Dictionary and our Colorado Limerick of the Dam. But before we even get to those fun things, I still smell our dog like he pooped. I don't. Oh well. Anyway, let's do the friends though of the Daverhood. This is where we talk about folks who have been on this program. You know, I keep trumpeting our archives. I keep saying, go to the davesgoneby.com website and go listen to the hundreds of interviews that we've done on this show. We've had amazing people on the program, maybe from Dr. Demento to Hal Linden to Dick Cavett to Linda Lavin. I mean, just wonderful, talented people. And we like to see what they've been up to since they've been on the program. That is why we call it the Friends of the Daverhood. Okay, so the Friends of the Daverhood for this week, this Saturday, June 13th, 2020. As I hold up the wrong page, there we go. Oh, have you been missing Jorma Kaukonen's solo concerts that he's been doing from his own Fur Peace Ranch? He's doing another one, and it's tonight at 8 o'clock. Just go Googling for Jorma Kaukonen. Of course, he was in the Jefferson Airplane and in Hot Tuna. Now he's still sequestered on his ranch, but every Saturday night he does a little acoustic concert just for us. It's Jorma Kaukonen tonight at 8. Jim Caruso's cast pajama party online. Now, back before the whole COVID thing, I would tell you that every Monday night it was Jim Caruso's cast party at Birdland, a kind of an open mic thing with a lot of famous people stepping up to the mic and singing songs. Well, they haven't been able to do that. Birdland's been closed, but Jim Caruso has come up now with a Zoom party. It's a cast pajama party, and among the folks being featured are Christine Lavin, our beloved friend of the Daverhood. So yes, check that out. That is happening on the 15th. I guess that is Monday night. And then on the 17th, it's At Home with Rebecca Luker as a special benefit for Project ALS. Rebecca Luker, marvelous actress. She was on our show quite a few years ago. She has come down with Lou Gehrig's disease. She's dealing with it. And her husband, Danny Bursting, he just survived COVID. He's also a friend of the Daverhood. So she is doing her own Zoom special. It's called At Home with Rebecca Luker. And it's going to be, I don't know if it's going to be musical so much as more of an open dialogue about what it means to go through ALS. I don't think there's a cure. So she'll be, that will be on the 17th. You can go to fundraise.projectiles.org. I've been on the air for 3.5 hours. This is what happens. Fundraise.projectiles.org. I thought I typed it wrong. No, old Dave is a moron sometimes. Fundraise.projectals.com. Yeah. Sorry, .org. What is wrong with me? Everything. Fundraise.projectals.org. Moving on. Paddy Maloney. Now, you know him, of course, as one of the founders of the Chieftains, the Irish band. He has contributed music to a show that played off-Broadway a few months ago called Yes, Reflections of Molly Bloom. It's actually, I believe, a solo show for Maloney's daughter, and he contributed the music to it. Well, Irish Rep has a video of it, either a video or live Zoom thing that they're doing. And you can watch it at irishrep.org. irishrep.org. The show is called Yes, Reflections of Molly Bloom. All about that character from Ulysses. Let's see, June 19th, Broadway Black. Now, this is an organization devoted to forwarding the presence and the good treatment of Black people in New York theater. Broadway Black, well, they're having their thing called the Antonio Awards, or maybe it's Antonio Awards. Nominees include our friend LaChanze, She actually has 2 different nominations for these awards. One is for actor in a Broadway play. She was in The Christmas Carol last year, and then she was in the off-Broadway musical The Secret Life of Bees. So she's doubly nominated, and the awards are being given out on the 19th. I want to remind you, speaking of cabaret, Eric Comstock and Barbara Fasano, they keep posting lots of their duets and little musical videos on YouTube, so check them out, Eric Comstock and Barbara Fasano. I want to let you know that Michael Artsis has this company called Be Terrific, and what it does is it gives you a complete virtual production system. And they're at beterrific.com. So yeah, if you're a company and you figure, hey, not only are we dealing with this during COVID, but once COVID's over, maybe a lot of people will stay working at home. Maybe we can do a lot of our meetings without flying people from city to city, coast to coast, do a lot more Zoom stuff, but we don't want the glitches. We don't want the problems with it, like I had early on with this show today. We want it to go really right and look really great with green screens and whatever. Michael Artsis' company can help you with that. It's beterrific.com. And then on, I want to let you know that every Friday night, it's Virtual Halston. Julie Halston, that funny actress, various guests, is kind of her little talk show, and you can find the archives of that on YouTube. PBS is still showing the Gabriel plays written by our friend Richard Nelson and starring J.O. Sanders. That is through, I believe, the end of the month. And keep checking StageBuddy.com, the website founded by our friend Evan Seplow, for stuff that's going on in New York during COVID, what you can watch and where. And then Dr. Demento, making those Dr. Demento shows at drdemento.com. Bob Cudmore doing new Bob Cudmore podcasts about upstate New York history at bobcudmore.com. And those, my friends, are the friends of the Daverhood. Well, it is 20 to 1 Eastern Time in the Daverhood. Dave Lefkowitz here with you with a bit more to do on this episode of Dave's Gone By. I'm making up a little time because we lost about 5-10 minutes owing to technical difficulties at one point. But yeah, we still have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. I apologize beforehand. I say apologize. Okay, and also, God help me, we decided to bring back Dave's Big Dictionary again today. So this is where my wife earlier in the program took this book, the Webster's New World Dictionary of the American Language, published the year I was born. This edition, was from 1964. So there's a lot of words not necessarily in there. And back then they were still using thou and thee. No, but seriously, I asked her to flip through the dictionary and put her finger on a word, whatever word her finger landed on. And we had one malfunction where she had the book upside down, but then the next time her finger landed on a word, the word, and now I can't find it. Where is it? Did she make that word up? Oh, no, there it is. It's Oxlip, O-X-L-I-P, Oxlip is the word that we're doing on Dave's Big Dictionary. Extra, tell all about it. It's Dave's Big Dictionary. I was due for this because I've had some great words, very easy words to talk extemporaneously about, tell old stories from my childhood, or just go off on tangents and things. But Oxlip, O-X-L-I-P, a plant of the primrose family with yellow flowers. And I think it was Cynthia and Jeff were kind enough to mention earlier that it also has stuff to do with being in pastures and fields where cows were a lot, and having to do with oxen, the lips of oxen, or something along those lines. Can I go back and find that? It may refer to ox and slip, often found in boggy pastures used by cattle. Primrose. What the hell? What on earth can I possibly do? Well, okay. And one of the other things that makes it extra hard this week is back in the day when I first started doing Dave's Big Dictionary, I would have pre-recorded interviews on the show. So that gave me like half an hour to go. I would Google, I would search, I would think, cogitate, make notes, and then I could come back and have something sort of ready to bounce off. But now I'm like, okay. Well, the first word that actually comes to mind from the definition is primrose, which makes me think of Stephen Sondheim, because Stephen Sondheim had a TV. He didn't have a TV show. They did a TV version of a short musical that he did called Evening Primrose that I have. I think I tried listening to once. I don't know. I didn't get into it, but it's one of the early Sondheim projects and considered one of the rarities in the Sondheim canon. But it made me also think that just this week, by sheer serendipity, I got it into my head to listen to some Sondheim, specifically early Sondheim, but I went for his show, his first real show after the university project, The Frogs, that he did, was something called Saturday Night. And it was this cute little New Yorkie show about these young guys back in the 50s, because writing this back in like the late 50s, and these guys just want to go out, get laid on a Saturday night. And that's what they're thinking about. They're just going there. They're going to meet some dames. They got just a little bit of money because they come from the wrong side of the tracks. And then there's one guy who's got some more. He wants to vault over the tracks and be hobnobbing with the hobnobbers. And then there's a girl there who wants to do the same thing. And was listening. And you know how you do when you have a genius and you know the greatness of their genius later on. So you know what Sondheim accomplished with Sweeney Todd and with, to some extent, Into the Woods, certainly with Sunday in the Park with George, and my God, West Side Story, and Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, and Company. But I mean, just like mind-blowing. So any student of the theater, which I am, is going to want to go back and see the formative stuff. They're going to want to see, well, we know all the songs from Company. We know the songs from Follies and from A Little Night Music and Sending the Clowns, right? And have studied them and thought about them. And oh my God, the lyric writing in a song like Free from Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. And that Sondheim himself was critical of a song that isn't in the West Side Story revival, I Feel Pretty, by Maria, because A, it just didn't fit in the dark context of this new revival, and B, Sondheim never liked it because this character, this very, lower, I don't want to say lower class, financially lower class Puerto Rican girl is not going to say, I feel pretty and witty and gay. It wouldn't come out of that character properly. He always regretted that lyric. So, if he's parsing his lyrics in that way, and we always go through and listen to Someone in a Tree or the songs from Sweeney Todd and think, oh, what an incredible lyric and how intricate and how so we go back to the early stuff and say, did he have it then, right? When is there a point when, aha, that guy's special? It's not just a talented lyricist composer. It's not, Harold Rome. He's not even, I don't know, so some other better than journeyman composer writer. So I'm listening to the Saturday Night soundtrack. The original cast recording. That's that. If you want to get in trouble with theater people, call an original cast recording soundtrack, and then you will see a riot. But it's kind of there. I think musically they're nice melodies, a bit on the forgettable side, and then the lyrics themselves. I didn't listen to the whole album. I think I listened to the first 5 or 6 songs, and you could tell already that the craft was fully developed. The genius hadn't gotten there yet, even though he was obviously a genius. But he was writing songs with, they made a point. The rhyme schemes were often quite clever, and yet you always wonder, well, he's telling the story. He's got the craft in place. Why is Saturday Night not as memorable or as great as Gypsy? Why doesn't it reach the level of, say, Pacific Overtures, which is problematic, but great. So what's, and I'm, this is another moment of me bouncing back and forth and saying, well, why is it that Evening Primrose didn't reach me when I listened to it? Why is it that Saturday Night is nice, but not a recording I'm going to really go back to, except for like a critical study thing of trying to understand more of him, rather than popping on the CD of Company or the MP3s of Company just for sheer pleasure, just for reveling in the genius that is so obviously there. I wonder, how does that work? Why is it? Why is it that some composers have their greatest work at one period of time, and 30 years later they're still composing, and we're like, okay, not so interesting, not so great. Makes me think of that, and there's no answer to it. I have even less of an answer for this than for George Floyd. But when I see that the Oxlip is in the Primrose family, it made me think of Primrose. That's okay. One way my mind works, Oxlip. And immediately, the way my mind works when Joyce chose this particular word, I was like, oh, okay. So you have a bunch of oxen up on a precipice, and it's been raining, and Oxlip. My mind does that. I don't know. It's weird for me to think that everybody else's doesn't, because my mind does that all the time. It's maybe why I do this. It's maybe why people tune into the show, why I do this show. And it occurs to me that maybe the vast majority of people, if they put their mind to it, anybody can come up with a pun. You have to work on it. God knows I work on those wretched puns of destiny. But maybe the vast majority of people out there don't think of that always. They don't wake up and they don't go to bed and all the time in between hearing every possible sentence and start to think, well, how can I twist that? How can I have fun with that? Hey, that word, if I put this with this word, it's going to be fun. It's going to be, not that meaning at all. It's a double entendre. It doesn't mean this. I do it nonstop. And it's like the Michael Scott character in The Office on TV of that's what she said, right? Do you guys do that, right? Where something could be taken as a double entendre, something that's perfectly clean, meant in a perfectly clean way, you realize instantly that there's a double entendre there, and you've got to be like, that's what she said. If you're trying to work an ATM machine and your card's not going, and then you have to stick it in all the way. That's what she said. My mind won't stop doing that. I have to stop myself from saying it, and usually I don't. But I honestly wonder if you guys listening, if you live on that wavelength, or the reason we have comedians and entertainers and humorists is that you'll get a joke. And if you paused a moment or two to think about it, you would get the "that's what she said" thing for yourself immediately before I had to say it. Or is it, or do you need a lunatic like me who will catch the pun and not only catch it really quickly, but spin it back at you as a pun, worded in a way that hopefully makes you laugh instantly. And that's what's missing from other people. It would take 10 seconds and a moment would be lost. But while I still have some brain power as a 56-year-old man, right? While I haven't supposedly lost that, while I can still do it, most other people aren't like that. And when you see the word Oxlip, and you don't start thinking in terms of cattle falling down a cliff, you just think, oh, what is that? It's a weird word. Is it? It's a plant. That's interesting, kind of. But to me, it's an opportunity. Maybe that's what it is with artists and creative people. Maybe everything is an opportunity. My wife sometimes criticizes me because when we're trying to have a serious conversation, I'll redirect and make a joke because I can't help it. Because everything to you is a joke. I'm like, everything to me could be a joke. And my blessing is to get through this life is that I can find the joke quicker than most people. And I'm not a joke writer. I'm very bad at trying to actually write jokes. I would have had a hard time being someone like a Woody Allen, or people writing for like your show. I could write sketches. I could write funny people saying funny things, but set up dialogue, punchline that isn't a pun. Very, very difficult. I don't think I could really do that, except once in a very blue moon. But off the cuff, finding the funny pun, finding that little twist of things, going to the dark side of things, is automatic. I can't stop it. I'm not saying that I would want, honestly, to stop it. But when I see the word Oxlip, I'm thinking of a cow like this, or hurtling over a cliff. When I see a word next to it, the word right above it is oxidize. It's like, yes, if your cow takes poison, he dies. That happened literally in that moment when my eyes glanced at it. That is what's wrong with me, ladies and gentlemen. And that, is Dave's Big Dick Shinary for this Saturday, June 13th, 2020. Oh my God, it's 5 minutes to 1 o'clock. That just about gives us enough time to do our last awful thing on this program, our Colorado Limerick of the Damned.
A limerick is a comic verse of 5 lines, in which lines 1, 2, and 5 will end with words that rhyme. And likewise, verses 3 and 4 also end with words that rhyme. So this is a limerick.
Yes, Christine Lavin, Colorado, because Joyce and I lived for almost a decade in Colorado. And so while I was there, I, for no particular reason, except maybe to have fodder to bring to my writers group once every 2 months, I would write these ridiculous, usually filthy, limericks about various towns and places in Colorado. I've got about 100 of them. Now it's supposed to be 1 or 2 or 3. Honest to God. It was just a cute thing. Oh, gee, that town, if I rhyme it with this and I rhyme it with that, I've got a funny limerick, and it's a little dirty the way limericks are supposed to be. But then I couldn't stop. It's like M&M's and potato chips. Like, I needed to write another limerick. And I've been doing them ever since. And we've been doing one a week after week after week. And believe me, some of these are very weak indeed. So here, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to another place that I had not heard of. My wife had. She has heard of Fruita, Colorado. Fruita, Colorado. It is part of the Grand Junction area of western Colorado. Pretty big place. It's actually like the biggest place that is west of the Rockies, biggest municipal place in Colorado in terms of having people and stuff to do. 12,000 people living there. It was initially home to the Ute Indians, both the old and the young, but they were all youthful. Told you, I can't stop myself. It's also been, since the early 1900s, they had a lot of dinosaur finds, a lot of digs in this area of Colorado, and unearthed a lot of whatever-osauruses. It was originally known for fruit, now they have festivals there, and of course, as with so many places in Colorado, hiking and biking and trails and golf and rim rock rodeo. Okay. And it also has the Colorado National Monument there, which is, if you take a look, it's like the Grand Canyon Light. It's not so great. It's the fairly nice canyon, not the Grand Canyon, not enough to be grand. It's the better than middling canyon called Colorado National Monument. All of this in Fruita, Colorado. And so, our Colorado Limerick of the Damned, and get the children out of the room, please, for this week is devoted to Fruita, Colorado. I dare say there's no woman cuter than Tilly, the trollop of Fruita. When she doffs her top, Your eyes cannot stop ping-ponging from hoota to hoota. That was the Colorado Limerick of the Dam, ladies and gentlemen. Please send your comments and complaint letters to davesgoneby@aol.com, davesgoneby@aol.com, and of course you can also leave messages here all week long right on this Facebook page. Do remember to check my Twitter feed, Radio Dave 2, and that's Radio Dave and the number 2. So check the Twitter feed on that. I want to give a shout out to Rabbi Saul Solomon, who has not been on the program today, but he tends to show up pretty frequently. So here's a shout out to him. Go to his website, shalomdammit.com. Shalom, D-A-M-M-I-T, shalomdammit.com. Also, I want to remind you that our archives are not only at davesgoneby.com, but you can find them at archive.org. We've got the last 11 years of shows already posted on archive.org if you want to listen to them there. Or Google Play has them through castbox.fm. So that's just the audio. If you want to hear audio of the last 11 years of programs, you can go at castbox.fm. Also check YouTube for a lot of our archives as well, but really the best place to start, davesgoneby.com. Well, it is 1 o'clock Eastern Time as we finish the 750th episode of the Dave's Gone. Oh, my noise machines are not, where are they? Here they go. That deserves, I think, a round of applause. 750 of these in the can and in other parts of my body, ladies and gentlemen. Very proud. And are we stopping? Not anytime soon, God willing. So yes, next Saturday, which I guess will be June 20th, we will have the 751st episode of the long-running radio podcastio programmio of the stream, Dave's Gone By, with me, Dave Lefkowitz. It just remains for me to say, well, thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in every Saturday. Thanks for liking and following us and seeing us first on Facebook, for telling your friends, your relatives. Oh, and she's working in another room. But it behooves me to wish my darling, adorable, and wonderful wife, Joyce, a most happy upcoming birthday. And I guess I will do the Chica birthday song. Happy, happy birthday to you. Do, 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 do. Happy, happy. Yes, she is having a birthday in a couple of days. And I did get her a present, and I hope it's a good one. Hope she likes it. And I've got a card that I just reminded myself I have to fill out. Oh, so much to do, so little time. I guess I better stop the show. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. Gonna be leaving the Daverhood and gone by.
Days gone by, 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 days gone by.
How do I end? Okay. Go away. Oh, here we are. It's this new Facebook thing. Whoops. Oh, boy. Gone by.